jump right on his head. They found who they need. That's a big shot down. He hooks himself back in. They want it. Kisei's not here, but what was that? It's a pentakill. Go 1-for-1 into Shun. Fire gets slammed into the wall. The action goes to Olaf. There's the access shot. And he just pull up in there. Yeah, Moit tries he might release the tempo active. I think I'm not by a second. Chippy is on an absolute tear right now.
Happy Thursday, everyone, and welcome to LCO. We've got day number 4 of the playoffs. Sitting beside me is Rusty, so a little bit of a change-up. Only in the catches, because we still got Max and Skimmy over there. How you guys feeling? We've got 4 days in a row so far of league action.
I'll tell you what, Mac. I'm feeling pretty in pink. Is that about you, mate?
Pretty in pink. There was a Mac. There was a Mac mate that came out there.
Change of the guard.
Hey, sometimes it's hard to break old habits. I get it, Skim.
It is what it is, but either way, I'm feeling hot, I'm feeling cute, I'm feeling pretty, I'm feeling handsome.
You do look good. I'm loving what's happening.
Feeling ready for an absolute banger of a best of 5.
Before we get to our best of 5,
My
let's have a
cables,
look.
here we go, far out.
Our best of 3 that happened yesterday on Wednesday.
Anytime soon, still looking at taking down that inhibitor. That might be the trade they're after, as Yerspin gets shoved away there by Chirp. Down goes the Inflight, in goes Good, and he steals the Baron. Are you kidding me?
Vertex have a decision to make, Skimmy.
Dancom goes in, and that is a 3-man ultimate. You said Vertex have a decision to make, and that's just a bloody run.
And it's been made for them. The decision's been made. They just died.
Fight both supports been the one to lead the line so far. The TP comes in, the paddle star shredding them low, and it's Suriden that picks up the double kill. He is the one to kill confirmed.
Teleported in.
But where is Church? He's running to the wrong base. And he's going to take a 1v1 into Dajong?
I mean, he hasn't got much of a choice. Also, Tomasino dies here. Chirp just trying to use the base, the terrain to his advantage.
Dashing in his face, empowered auto attack, puts him to sleep, goes golden, denies any kind of clapback that Chirp has. They flash, they burn, they trade!
A little bit of a shorter highlight reel there because it was a 2-0 in favor of Mammoth. They came in, they showed Vertex that they're on a roll. They're on that lower bracket roll, and they look fantastic. Getting that 2-0 does mean that they will be waiting on the other side tomorrow for whoever does lose this upper bracket match here. So, of course, Team Bliss and Chiefs, they won their upper bracket series. That's who we'll be seeing it play today. The loser will fall down to the lower bracket and be facing Mammoth, who right now have had a 2-0, a very amazing lower bracket run.
I mean, they've had 4 games series that they have to play so far in this playoffs, right? Could potentially be looking at a 5th as well if they do make it through to the grand final. So this enhanced schedule, the fact that we've got 5 games, 5 days in a row, means that you have to be constantly on your A game. You have to be prepping every single day, not even knowing who your opponent could be for the next day.
Yeah, I mean, imagine being in Mammoth's shoes right now. You're like, you could be coming up against Chiefs. You could be coming up against Team Bliss. It's sort of up in the air at the moment, but this Bliss Chiefs, it's unsurprising that they are in the upper bracket there, Rusty.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's surprised that Bliss and Chiefs are facing each other. For me, the interesting part is Mammoth, like you just highlighted, played so many days in a row. Consider their momentum now, right? They're just so used to playing every day this week that if you're Bliss or Chiefs, knowing that the loser has to verse them, you're a little bit worried because that team's on the trot.
Oh, they are. They've looked fantastic in all their series and all their games that they have played. And you're right, Max, they might be going to the grand finals. They might have to play 5 series in the playoffs. But before the grand finals, the Friday night before it, there's a little bit of fun that can happen. It can take place on the Rift with us. Community night is happening yet again, the second one for this split for us. It's finals fever theme. If you guys do want to join, if you want to get amongst it, !mark Discord in chat to sign up or get some more information. We had quite a lot of people sign up last time. It was ever-evolving lobbies of ARAMs. A lot of fun. Even though it was ARAM, there was a game that we got to pick what champs we played.
Yeah, we played all pick, I think, twice in that one. Also, word on the street is Mordred's offering full pink outfits to anyone who attends.
Really?
So just by an entrance, you get a goodie bag.
Yeah, just signing up.
Head to toe.
It will be sent to you in the
Dripping
mail.
Balenciaga.
So you look good in game. Balenciaga for sure. You look good in game and in game. I think he's actually giving away skins as well. Also from Balenciaga.
Pink
to match
Crows.
up, yeah.
I don't know.
Also from Balenciaga.
Also, yeah. So I don't know what kind of connections he's got. Louis Vuitton's gone, Balenciaga's in. Fashionista.
Fashionista, and I mean, look, I got a few fashion role models out there, but you guys at home might have a few role models in the pro players. So we asked you from the fans. You can use hashtag LCO to tell us which League Pro do you look up to and why. Do you have one, Rusty?
Choo-Choo's. Choo-Choo's, who's now no longer a pro,
Okay,
but is a
back
coach,
then.
is now an acting coach for Golden Guardians in North America. He was the person who basically retired me from being a pro because he was too good. So I've always aspired to be as good as he was. I'm not kidding. It's just that's what happened.
Hey, it's just a
He
fact of the
ruined
matter.
my life in a good way. I aspired to be as good as him.
It's
Look,
one line
that's
after
fair.
one
That's
line.
admirable. He ruined my life in a good way.
In a great time.
Very
yeah,
admirable.
Awesome.
Let's see if we've got some from the fans here. Claire Bear said, Mad Life taught me how to support.
The GOAT.
Taught you how to hit hooks.
Yeah.
In other words, Mad Life notorious. Also had a good hook was called a Mad Life.
Really?
So
I didn't know that.
it's kind of disappeared.
It has.
I don't think that's existed for a while now,
No.
but that like the OG phrase for like when you're just like on it and like no hooks are missing, you're Mad Life.
For me, Mad Life was always when you did like the predicting hook, when like they're like blinking
Oh,
ways
the
like an Israel,
walking.
and like they're going one way and you're just like, they're going to go over here and you predict it, much like you got the insect for the Lee Sin kick.
Gosh, I wish I could do any of those. Let's see, there's some more role models out there in the pro players. Papa Pike said, Biopanther, this man is making OS the best region it can be. Keep up the great world king.
World.
Keep up the great world.
He is
Keep up
Sisyphus.
the great world. He is holding the world up.
It's
Look,
none
no,
of the work.
Bio's a great choice. Bio's a very respectable human who works hard. He's always very humble in his interviews and has a lot to say in a very positive way. He's a great role model and a good aspiration for anybody to
Both
have.
in and out of the game.
Yeah.
That's what you're
Yeah.
alluding to there. Maybe another one coming up on our screens. Stix0 said, Tron. Who is Tron? In math, my solution. In history, my king. In art, my canvas. In science, my oxygen. In geography, my world.
He's a face who will be missed, at least from me, certainly. I love Tron. I love everything he brought. I love the Olaf. I love the Vladimir. I love the unpredictability and the laughs when he gets forced to pick Ornn in the top lane. So, gonna be missed.
He'll be Troning everywhere out of the rift now.
He will be.
Poor
He's
Tron.
on to better Trons.
On the big
We
Trons.
moved Tron.
We do have one more role model coming up here for our fans. Babip is the GOAT, bro, is always so consistent and inspiring at both domestic and international levels.
I think that consistency is a very big hallmark for Babip, right? He's always very reserved in all conversations we have. He's always very calm and just says it very blankly how it is, but he's always the best. So like it's very easy to look at that and say, of course we aspire to be what is a consistent and humble king.
I mean, they're all great attributes, so I see why you've all put those players, those pro players, as your inspirations and as your idols. But for now, we want to talk about this matchup, Team Bliss and Chiefs. It's happened time and time again this year, but only the third time they're coming up against each other here in Split 2. Starting up with Team Bliss, Lived, Why Not, Daystar, Lemus, Arkia. These guys so far in Split 2 have proven they are the team to beat. They came in at first seed, and they so far are looking unstoppable.
They are looking unstoppable, and to me, the thing that makes Bliss so scary is, one, they have a very solid foundation for how they win games, right? They've proven it time and time again. They love creating chaos. They love creating uncertainty for the enemy team. And from knowing their coaching staff, knowing their players as well, the deep champion pools and the countless hours of draft prep they put in, they have so much in the bag that's left to show in this playoffs, which makes them such an exciting team to watch every single game.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's all about Daystar once again. I mean, even in a situation when the rest of his team is falling on behind, he'll find a way to become relevant. I feel he's just having the split of his career right now. It's just unbelievable the amount of champions he's able to play at that high level, but just the influence every single time, despite the results not always being as clean as they want. He finds a way to become relevant, and that could be absolutely crucial in tonight's matchup.
Combining him with Arkia as well, right? The dynamic duo, the two Koreans that have come in. Daystar split 1, Arkia split 2. It feels like this team has found a whole extra level. Originally, they couldn't beat the Chiefs in the finals. It was a 3-1 loss, but with those upgrades, and I think the first real best of 5 we're going to see from them, potentially of 2, if things continue the way that they are. I mean, this is the first hurdle for Bliss to try and overcome with this improved roster and step up to what is currently the GOATs.
I mean, their previous record is they both did draw in that best of 2 during the regular split, obviously forcing them to go to a tiebreaker, where we got this fantastic, actually that was from the Direwolves one, I forgot the tiebreaker dance was Max's favorite one.
You know how meta that could be? Like the water sprinkler, and then we just fade him doing that into his team while taking sips. And it's like
so he's feeding the
he's
team.
sprinkling the water, the
He's
hydration
hydrating
station.
them.
We need a coordinated one from maybe just 2 members of Bliss or something, like call and response on camera. That'd be like...
You almost want like the lasso one, how you like If
We
only.
only got that
The
with...
fishing.
Who was it? Was it Rogue and Winterer when they went to PGG House? Was
They
those
did.
two?
They were cooking.
They were
They were, like,
cooking,
cooking up the eggs
and
and
no
stuff.
one understood what was going
I'm
on.
not gonna lie, the one thing that stands out for me for Winter over the last 3 years of him being in LCO is when he did the dead bug dance. Do you remember that one?
Oh,
Where he like,
legs and
literally
arms
put his
up.
legs and arms in the
And we're
air
like-
on camera.
What is
How
he
did I
doing?
miss this?
You were playing. You were playing. To be fair, you were playing during the
okay.
time.
Back
Like
then.
you weren't like you know, on the sidelines here in
Maybe
the
it was the
talent.
opponent.
Could have been.
They
It could have been
didn't
that
beat
one.
us. We beat them every game in the regular.
That's why it was a dead bug.
That's why it was a dead All right, Max, we're going to have to knock you down a peg there. But let's talk about the opponents, Chiefs here. They are once again trying to instill their reign. They're back-to-back-to-back. The 3-timers, that's what they're going for here for Chiefs. By Panther, Kiss8, Raze, Aladoric, and I've left his name to last, Babip coming in. We've seen Kevy a number of times, but this time round, Chiefs think Babip is going to be the one that needs to start in game 1.
And this is the big question mark for me, right? They played against Mammoth. They absolutely dominated them with Kevy, right? It wasn't a close series whatsoever. Babip has only played 1 game versus Bliss this entire split, right? So whether they think that perhaps it's an advantage, that Bliss's lack of familiarity with Babip is going to lend them the edge. To me, this raises questions as if we're going to see this throughout the series, them swapping based on side as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot up in the air.
That's actually exactly what I was thinking, right? This probably, because so lately the Chiefs haven't been substituting out their junglers. They've committed to series apiece, right? And if they had 2 series in that week, it was just 1 jungler each. Coming into playoffs, they said essentially whoever's playing better will get the spot. So for Babip to start, it could just be that he's performing better in practice right now, or it could be that they have that intent, like you're saying, Max, side select or draft changes between games, and so do the junglers.
I think there is also this aspect of trying to find out who does fare the best against Team Bliss. This is a best of 5. You're able to have that little bit of experimentation in game 1, maybe even game 2 if you want to push the envelope all the way to the end. But I do like them starting with Babip. Obviously, the one game that he did play against Team Bliss was the one that they lost. But in saying that, Kevy also ended up being on the starting roster and losing in the tiebreakers too. So maybe it's a little bit of a coin flip at the moment.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree, because I feel like Team Bliss is certainly going to showcase everything possible to get them across the finishing line here in this initial best of 5, because as we already know, this first best of 5, the winner of this is guaranteed that PCS spot. That's all that matters at this stage, right? So why wouldn't you want to try and throw guns blazing, everything that you have at it? And if it is as simple as saying Kevy comes in for this draft, that upsets the apple cart because you're not prepared for this particular way. You know, then Babbitt switches in. Makes it very jarring, I say, for the opposition, their jungler, right? How does Why Not then respond to the stylistic differences, not only between the pathing, but also then how Kissei responds in tone as well?
I'm actually more worried about Lived, because I remember the one game that they played with Babip against Team Bliss. Lived was fine, like obviously had a great performance. They swapped in Kevy. Oh my god, Liv's game was absolutely just torn apart. Like I want to see if that's a style of gameplay we're going to see again, whether Kevy subs in, whether Babip stays there and they try and emulate that sort of style is a big question mark. But something else, question mark, is obviously the sides that they've played. What sides are they going to want to pick up, and if that's a factor behind the junglers there. But Skimmy, you're looking at these stats. In Split 2, sides played so far, the numbers coming up on our screens there.
Yeah, I just thought it was an interesting discussion, really, as to should there be any preference going into this best of 5? Should we be looking at a certain team wanting to go for a blue or a red side? As you can see so far, it has been very heavily favoured towards Bliss going for that blue side, locking in that very first champion and allowing the rest of the opposition then to respond to whatever that OP champion is up and available. You can see for Chiefs, very flexible, very malleable in how their approach is. They're not really too deterred if they get blue or red. They're very comfortable winning on either side, right? So I'm very curious then, with that in mind, if it is going to be Bliss at every given opportunity, blue, 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 until it stops working for them.
Anything else when you look at these sides, Max, that factors into what this matchup could look like?
The thing I think about looking at the Chiefs side selection is that they are a very stock standard team, right? You take a look at their series versus Direwolves, they banned the exact same champions on both sides as well, right? They have a very solid game plan that they're willing to stick to regardless of side. I think when you start to take into account the counter pick, I think in this matchup particularly, we'll get into it a bit later, but Kissei and Daystar, that really is the focal point. So if you do want to give Kissei an advantage there, you're certainly going to want to look towards that red side 5th pick.
This part here gets interesting as well, because now we're just looking at the regular season and actually what sides have always been selected by them. So obviously you're looking at the games played, the win rates on those, and it's just once again mirrored here for both teams, right? Bliss always going for the blue side, always winning on that blue side as a result too. And likewise for Chiefs, once again, just very, very flexible. The other stat that we don't have on the screen is actually every meeting between both Chiefs and Bliss. They've versed each other, what, 18 times, 18 games between each other. They're tied 9 apiece now after that tiebreaker that's happened, right? So this is almost like a decider of I suppose, a potential final, if you will. But the same could almost be said there, where Chiefs once again 5 wins on the red side, 4 wins on the blue side. But it actually flips around for Bliss, which is interesting for me, given that you've seen them always go for blue side, electing for that side and winning on it. When they've gone up against the Chiefs, they've always had more success playing on red.
I can also tell you that the one time they picked red side was against the bottom 2 team, and they just didn't want to prep for 2 sides. I can tell you that much.
They're like, we just
So
go
they've-
in, we have one
yeah.
game plan, and
So
that's all that
they've
matters.
Only picked blue when it matters to them.
Huh, interesting. And now we're seeing like the stats very heavily favor. No, I am thinking about it, right? Because like you have to prep for both. This is the best of 5. It could go all 5
Yep.
games. Obviously, the higher seed having that choice, and then the loser then having the choice. So it could flip at any moment.
Yeah.
You being comfortable in blue, then being
2
comfortable in red.
junglers as well. You got to prep for both junglers in different drafts
There's
potentially.
a lot of prep when it
Yeah.
comes to Chiefs that you have to do.
And one thing I also want to point out about the blue side priority is that I think Bliss's solo laners are so good that they actually just don't care about the counter pick. Right? When you have Daystar, he will win every matchup regardless. I think Lived as well has sort of shown that he's that caliber of player who doesn't really care if he's playing Cassante into Jax or Jax into Cassante, right? So to me, it's just they've got the caliber of player where they're just going to take the draft advantage. They're going to take that Kai'Sa, Jace, whatever it might be priority over the 1% advantage you might get in the solo lane.
We're talking about the nitty-gritties of this side select, what could happen and couldn't happen, but there's some other opinions that we want to hear about for this matchup. We had a word to some people in the community. We're going to start off with Tally here. He gave us a 3-2, so he thinks Chiefs is going to take this, and his reasoning is that Chiefs have looked extremely dominant in laning phase recently. If they're able to contain Daystar, I believe in the boys.
Containing Daystar is
You gotta
easier
put him in a little
said
box.
than done. Yeah, and, you know what's funny about all of these? The more predictions we get, you look at the score, and if he's saying if they can contain Daystar, I believe in them, but he's also said 3-2. So he's not saying they can contain
They can do it
Daystar
all, like,
all
back
the
to back
time.
to back, yeah.
He's got more faith they might be able to do that 3 times, and I think that's a clear sign of the confidence.
And I think the interesting thing for me is we haven't seen Daystar contained at all in Split 2. It's happened in the past in Split 1. Certainly there was a situation where he's getting put behind, he's forced to go side lanes and say, I've relegated myself. But I think the most recent meeting in the game you're talking about, right, when Kevy comes in, it's Lived on the Olaf. He gets put behind. The bot lane of Bliss is losing as well. It was still Daystar, like 5-1 on the Syndra, right?
Yeah.
So it's very, very hard. If everybody else is losing, he still finds that way. So I think containing him is going to be a battle of the beast.
We've still got some more people to go through here. Swiper's prediction. This one's a bit of a long one. I just think that the Chiefs will edge out the important fights and execute a bit better on the timings. Team Bliss have the macro advantage, but I don't see that being big enough to take out such an experienced roster. Super close, though. So exactly the same prediction as well for Tally with a slightly different reasoning.
That's interesting to me because I would actually say Bliss have been the best macro team this entire split. I think in terms of snowballing advantages, their play around mid lane is second to none. Right? Whenever Daystar has a lead, you know that they're going to be chauffeuring him around the map to actually get stuff done. So to me, this is going to come down to perhaps like a dragon fight or something. And if we're talking that angle, then Kisse for sure is the player to watch in terms of finding those flanks, being able to swing it for the Chiefs.
Yeah, that is a massive thing that you do have to be cautious of, and one of those factors as to why Team Bliss were able to take some of their games. Hysterics here, you said, what could have been at finals? The Team Bliss have a far superior early game, and this was something that we feared in scrims. Their laners are solid all round, but why not in Daystar pilot the first 20 minutes like they're hell-bent on revenge? Good luck,
He's
Chiefs.
such a shoutcaster,
I know.
isn't he?
I know. You could tell when
Swiper's
you
like,
So descriptive.
Swiper's conversation is such a coach answer as well. He's like timings, macro, like etc. Hysterics is weaving a story.
He paints a
into
picture
his
for you. I'm
response,
like
yeah.
now picturing why not just being hell-bent on constantly attacking, constantly being aggressive and proactive. And in
He puts it
Hysterics,
well.
Hysterics' eyes, it's going to be a 3-2. So still 5 games, but this time Bliss having the edge.
No one
Well,
has said
I've
less.
stolen that away from Hysterics. Thank you very much. One play-by-play to another. My job has just been made easier. Love your work.
You're just
Your
going to
narrative, my
reuse,
narrative.
recycle.
Our narrative.
Our narrative. We're gonna be sustainable over here. Benvi, he said Lemus is playing out of his mind right now, and Daystar is too good. So it's gonna be a 3-1 to Bliss.
Both true.
Yeah.
Both statements are completely true here as well. Lemus has been playing out of his mind, even just comparing the splits, right? Lemus is almost twice as good as the ADC we saw that was worthy of being in the finals in split number 1. So absolutely could be the star of the show here today.
Everyone really stepped up for Team Bliss in Split 2. And Kitty here, she was there for the Split 1 debut of Team Bliss. She has faith in them this time at coming back in Split 2. Team Bliss's ability to adapt and replicate Eastern regions through Coach Calvin's input, and his read on drafts will give them an advantage against Chiefs. Though just comparing Why Not and Kevy's champion pool so far, Why Not is far more suited to play the meta OPs for 13.13 like Maokai, Sejuani, Poppy. Team Bliss on paper should be the most suited team for the playoffs patch.
I mean, that's interesting, right? Because Kevy did play. He sort of tried to shift his style, I think, with the Chiefs to become that sort of more facilitative player. I think he played Vi Sejuani off the top of my head against Mammoth, rather. And to me, it's like, okay, do we actually want this as the Chiefs? Do we want to make Kevy into this player who is just the meta slave, or do we want to keep him as the carry explosive player who's playing things that no one else is playing? Because then that gives you a real distinct separation of the two styles between him and Babbitt.
And it makes it harder to prep. That was exactly what you were talking about for this matchup too. And I do believe this is going to be our last one. We had him on Split 2 already on this catch. Destiny's prediction here said Chiefs will win because I carried Raze in Duo Q lately. He's going to smurf 3-2 to Chiefs.
Bit of anger gaming then. Got to prove a point to Destiny.
He's got that back end information of Duo Q.
I saw him doing Aladoric as well.
Yeah.
He did too.
The question is, will Raze carry, or will the Chiefs carry Raze like the duo queue? Right? So I'm curious what Destiny's opinion is on that one. Who is actually going to carry this?
Destiny
Did Raze get the Destiny buff?
He brought Ray's ability up even higher through the carry. He like osmosis gave him some information just by playing together.
That's it. Watch out, Lemus. Destiny's buffed Raze up, ready to go.
Yeah, he's got that outside help there. But look, we got Lived on the line. We're gonna have a chat to him here. Lived, how you feeling? You guys are versing Chiefs, a tale as old as time here.
Yeah, it's good to be back for our 50th game, so see how it goes.
It is only the third time you guys are facing off in Split 2 here, and it's been quite a close game, quite close matchups in the past too. What gives you this little bit of an edge now? Is it a patch change? Is it just the time difference that gives you the edge in playoffs?
Who knows? Who knows what's to come? It is a bit exciting. A few more picks came in with the few changes that came around, so I don't know. I think it's still quite close at the moment. Very 50-50. Not sure myself.
Okay.
I want to ask about the picks that you just mentioned as well for top lane more specifically. So I'm not saying release your draft to me. The top lane meta right now for you as well, Liv, is just Cassante, Jax, Renekton cycled through. We saw you pull out an Olaf, maybe a Fiora. What's your take on the meta? Because the tanks are pretty gone now, right? Like, we're not seeing the last pick Sion anymore.
Yeah, I think people have just learnt to play against them a bit better now. I think people actually don't just run mid as 5 and just I don't know. I feel like you can actually. People just got used to it. I think, in my opinion, I think they're still fine. I think you still play them, but I think everyone's just gotten to be used to them, or maybe everyone just got bored and started playing carries. I don't know.
That's fair enough.
And what about just coming up against BioPanther in general? What sticks to mind is this game that you guys had in the regular split. Obviously, he got a lot of priority for the ganks. He had a bit of a rough game. Are you worried that's going to be repeated at all?
Well, we've seen Barbo in the first game, so as long as Kevy's not in there, I shouldn't be getting ganked at all. So we should be all good.
Easy lane for you. Listen, you guys have a performance coach as well. As far as I know, you're the only team in OS that has one that operates as a performance coach for you guys. I want to know what kind of an impact your coach is having for the team, right? Like for nerves potentially that are there for a best of 5 like this.
He's definitely helped a lot. I think even in Split 1, even though we didn't end up winning, I think over the time, he's helped us so much with our nerves, especially because we have a lot of new players that aren't experienced. So especially on stage as well, when we played finals at DreamHack, I think everyone was incredibly nervous, especially for the first 2 to 3 games. But I think over time, he's helped us really calm those nerves and prep us for our games.
Is there also an exhaustion factor in it too, being a best of 5? Do you have to think about the fact that it could go to 5 games, or do you try not to focus on that too much?
I mean, there's always the possibility of it going 5 games. I think you do have to play it slow, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So you always have to be mindful of that when going in.
Yeah. Perfect. Liv, thank you so much for joining us and giving us this interview. Good luck today.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
See ya.
Quietly was hoping he'd comment on the pink. No bias, but I was just quietly hoping he would notice.
He'd be like, I'm all for you guys.
Yeah, I was just hoping he would notice,
I've split myself quite evenly between the pink and the blue.
Yeah, you are a perfect split.
And this is not in support of Bliss, by the way, just to clarify.
No, we're just bringing Kenergy. We've just got that strong Kenergy.
That broadcast.
We're not all biased, just to clarify.
Just to clarify that. I am not biased, but I am
good to know.
a little bit swayed by what Lift brought there, how he was joking about the fact that he doesn't think he's going to be ganked at all, with Babip stepping in. No real worry. Different playstyle.
But that's exactly, I think, the distinction between these two, right? Is Kevy will gank for himself. Kevy will gank wherever he sees a kill, whereas Babip will gank for anyone who's named Raze or Kisse, right? That's the main thing. When Babip plays, Bio is left alone on his own. So I think that can be something that Lived is looking forward to, at least, being able to play a 1v1.
Well, we do have our other interviewee ready here. Kisse is going to join us. Kisse, how are you feeling for this best of 5 sort of matchup against Bliss again?
Feeling pretty good and confident. I think this time we just have to stay calm and the game should be ours because our last tiebreaker, our comms weren't very stable and yeah, it was all over the place.
Have you seen a massive improvement for your comms in playoffs despite only having done 1 series so far?
Yeah, I think that Mammoth game really helped us settle down. Throughout those 2 games, we were really calm and everything went really well.
Do you feel a particular motivation for versing a team like Bliss? Like for you guys knowing that they're essentially rivals at this point, is that where more nerves or something like that will come up and why the Mammoth game was better for you to start?
Yeah, you could say Bliss are kind of our rivals. My teammates really don't like Bliss.
All of them don't like Bliss?
Yeah, all of them don't like Bliss. I don't mind Bliss. It's just, we're just playing the same league. But yeah, it's fun to have rivals.
Outside of just comms, was there anything else that you guys learnt from the tiebreakers that you're carrying over, or it being on a different patch, you're looking more towards that Mammoth series to bring in something new and fresh against Team Bliss?
I think nothing new. We really haven't gotten that much. I don't think we got scrims at all this week because all the players are playing in the playoffs. But I think we just got to bring our A game, just be the better team today. Like I said, just remain calm and yeah, we should win the game.
I have a 2-part question here for you, Kisse. The first one's about Daystar and your mid lane matchup. So first of all, how do you feel like this lane is going to go for you? Because Daystar at the moment seems to have been playing really well. And then secondly, are you happy with the meta that you're going into Daystar with? Are you happy with this Tristana Jace play style?
Yeah, I think Daystar's a really good player. I respect him. He's definitely top 2 mid in OCE. With the meta, yeah, I could say I'm pretty happy with it. I'm going to claim I think I'm the best Jace in OCE, so it's not that bad for me. And yeah.
You don't want that Silas back? You don't want that Akali more often, potentially?
Oh yeah, I'll bring Silas in the Game 5 finals. Get carried by my
we'll
team.
get Skimmy to yell it out again for you. That was my question.
Okay, I just had to make sure there's nothing more. Kisse, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck today.
Thank you so much.
See ya. Okay, I have to talk about this comms thing because I remember after the Mammoth game, we interviewed Aladoric, and that's exactly what he said too. So now I'm wondering, how long has this issue been persistent for Chiefs of them not having clear and calm comms, that maybe things weren't concise and there was almost too many chefs in the kitchen?
It's always interesting for me because we've talked about it in the past, right? Is your team very emotionally driven? And when you're on your up, you're all popping off, you're all screaming, you're all very active, right? But then when things aren't going too well, suddenly everyone's getting quiet, you're isolated in lane, right? And everything goes pear-shaped as a result. I'm wondering, without knowing anything here, whether or not there's a case where, because as Kisse mentioned, there's this big vendetta against their opposition. Maybe there is a little bit more on the line. Maybe they are looking to try and not necessarily try hard a little bit more, but maybe overcompensate in a way, right? Where you are flooding the comms because you want to make sure everything is being almost like an OCD fashion. Everything's being looked at. It's all being discussed. If you missed that call where I said he's MIA, hey, I said it, right? So it'd be interesting to see coming into this one if they can replicate the form they had against Mammoth.
Yeah, we had a lot of discussion about this side selection, what was going to happen, who has the advantage on either side. So we're going to finally see what was picked for game number 1. Bliss coming in, higher seed, they pick up blue side for themselves. It matches all the stats that we saw on what side they like to pick and what side has also been more successful for them.
I think they've also proven that their preference is the Tristana Kai'Sa flip, that they're really happy to just go for that one and pick the one that they would prefer. So blue side just naturally lending you into the 3 target bands, just take the switch, take the flip matchup. I think they're really happy with this side of the map, and there's no reason to change what's working for them. Maybe games 2 through 5 in this series, if they lose, they will start to look at that red side though.
Well, our Dare fan vote is up. It's ready for you guys to use your channel points to predict who will be Game 1 winner. If you got Team Bliss faith, if you got Chiefs faith, make sure you show it in those channel points and put them in for yourselves. It's right there above the Dare fridge if you didn't know the location. Our personal predictions, though, are going to be coming up on screen. It's a bit of a tough one. Max and I both going Team Bliss here, a 3-1. Yo, I brought it back in the points. Can I just point that one out?
You've done well.
I was
done really well.
So unbelievably in last place. Now I'm tied with Skimmy, 1 behind Max there. Skim, you've gone the 3-2, so the whole 5 games for Chiefs.
Yeah, just a believer that it can go to distance. I've seen Chiefs close it out in those decisive moments in the past. Yes, we're not on land like we were for DreamHack, where the nerves might be a little bit, overboard. But I just think, yeah, kind of like what Swipe and a few others mentioned, I think there's just an extra degree of experience. You've been there, you've done it. That might just carry you across in those real do-or-die moments.
And you also have gone for Chiefs here, but this time not going to 5 games. You
Yeah,
for
no,
the 3-1
I went for the 3-1. I think that, like, this will be the most motivated you'll see the Chiefs, right? Like, it kind of was alluded towards there, but, like, I'm expecting to see Chiefs start the best we've seen them yet.
All right, well, they're going to be motivated, according to Rusty. They got Babip stepping in. We'll see if Chiefs are able to take it. If Team Bliss have the advantage, picking blue side for themselves, Champ Select is ready.
That it certainly is. All right, Max, let's kick off this upper bracket final. A chance to see both these teams in action. Our first and second seed in a best of 5, looking to claim their ticket to PCS.
Looking to make it to that international stage once again here. And you can see the first ban from the Chiefs actually going to be a Blitzcrank. This is an absolute... You never see a first-round Blitzcrank ban, especially targeted towards blue side, right? But shows the respect that the Chiefs hold for Arkia, who really was their undoing in their previous affair.
Now look at this. This is very interesting, right? The Tristana's been denied from Chiefs, which was that usual trade for the Kaiser first pick that Bliss have always gone for. So what happens? Kaiser then gets denied by Chiefs as a result too. The only other thing that remains consistent from the other series is that both these teams in their playoff games so far have always banned away the Rel.
Yeah, Rel's gone. The question to me is the Jace the 1P you look for here, right? The bread and butter of Team Bliss throughout this entire split was Jace and Maokai, this very poke-centric combo. And Kisei said before he thinks he's the best Jace in O's. Well, Daystar's certainly going to give him a run for his money.
That he certainly is. He's had a real good stand-up performance as well on that champion. And very quickly, might I add, Chiefs are just snap blocking in their response. You can have your Jace. We anticipated with the bans that went out. Xayah Vi is our response. And definitely puts a lot of emphasis then on making Lemus have to play a bit of a mobile champion himself.
Well, Xayah is one of the 80 carries that Lemus has defaulted to, right? He played it both their series versus Direwolves when the Kaiser wasn't available. And especially when you're taking the Vi, it just makes so much sense to deny that engage. Now, obviously, you do not want to have a scenario where Aladoric is able to get on his patented Rakan, so Arkia going to pick that up here. But it does raise the question as towards what you go for this 80 carry pool, right? We've seen, Varus still available. You can potentially go an AP variant, sort of lean into that poke style that they've got already with the Jace. You could go for something like the Aphelios, which got nerfed, but Lemus really going to have his champion pool a little bit tested here to start off game 1.
You'll just go completely crazy and just decide to snap block in a Draven, and you're thinking, hello, a minute.
Why not?
Why not indeed? Sejuani, though, is going to be the case of them giving them a nice bruiser in the jungle, complement those side lanes. Definitely would threaten the likes of Chiefs having to ban away your Jaxes and so on from consideration. But ball is in their court now. How do they want to round things out before they throw it across? Will they decide to lock in their mid lane? Because generally speaking, when Chiefs have been on the red side, that 5th pick has usually been reserved for either Kisei or Aladoric.
And what's interesting to me, right, is Team Bliss opted for the Sejuani on 3 instead of picking up their 80 carry. So the Chiefs coming in now, you imagine they're going to be able to throw double bans towards the 80 carry of Bliss and even push Lemus further.
Sure. Right,
and similarly, the support's still available for the Chiefs. Nautilus, always a great pick. Leona as well, for that bit of engage, as well as the matchup you have into Rakan. But it's going to be the Ahri locked in, so via Ahri, a very staple combo, able to get on top of carries incredibly easy and put a lot of pressure onto Daystar, who's the main focus for the Chiefs.
Certainly is, as the Renekton is going to get taken off the board there from the Chiefs, making sure that the Sejuani isn't going to have the easiest time. I'm very curious whether or not they would go for double top bans, or if they were to look towards those mobile AD carries like a Zeri, for example. We haven't seen her in a hot minute, but obviously was one of those champions that Vi kind of struggles into.
Yeah, I mean, Vi does not like playing against Zeri, especially when Zeri is able to run back into her teammates 1,000 miles away, and then Vi's blown up 1,000,000 miles from where her actual team is. But the Renekton ban's smart, right? You obviously don't want to give over that incredibly strong topside 2v2 with the Sejuani pairing. Question to me is Cassante, right? This is both of these top laners' most played champion. They've played it both in the playoffs as well so far. and it's a very stable pick. Obviously with Jackson, Renekton, and now Rumble being banned as well, perfect situation just to pick this top laner up, say, okay, Bio, you're on an island, good luck.
And this is very interesting for me, these two last bans that have come out. You already touched on it before with the Rumble. That was permanently banned away in the series that Bliss played up against the Direwolves. Begs the question, and having seen it played by Tien, is this a two-lane flex where we see Daystar and Liv be able to play that one? On the receiving end, though, is the Milio ban, which we saw Aladoric has punished multiple teams with, cleansing out of all the CC, which if you're looking at the first three from Bliss is already a problem.
Yeah, there's a lot of CC there from the side of Team Bliss. The Nautilus going to be the lock-in for the side of Aladoric. This is a very skirmish-focused bot lane that they've drafted so far, right? The Xayah going to feel pretty safe against whatever Team Bliss do manage to throw at it, and then you have the skirmishing through that jungle to come in as well. But it's a Nyla. I think it's actually pronounced Neela. Rusty yelled at me for this the other day. I'm gonna say Neela. But this is a champion we've never seen before, right? What is Neela good at? It's good at getting into your face. It's good at skirmishing early, pairing with Sejuani as well. Fantastic skirmishing early on.
That it certainly is. It's a champion I don't think we've seen since launch when Voice, I believe, played one game on it. Many, many moons ago, though. But it's been a champion that has been on the fringes, been seen elsewhere in the world. The Gwen to come out as a response as well. And then how do Chiefs round out their composition? They slam their cannon and say, we are going for all-out teamfight mode.
So laning phase with Kennen, it's fine into Gwen, right? Obviously you are ranged into melee, so you do get to put a bit of an advantage there. But the main strength, right, is the counter engage that a Kennen provides, right? In a teamfight where Neela's jumping in, Rakan, Sejuani, they're all trying to get on top of you. You pop that slicing maelstrom, you stand there and you deliver, right? The Neela practically gets one shot before she actually manages to get in. So definitely a very spicy draft that Bliss have cooked us up here for game one.
That they certainly have. They're not going to really hold anything back in the very first game. If you thought they were going to run it back with a very similar draft of a Jace Kaiser, be it Jace Varus, Jace Siggs, anything along those lines, nah. Completely reinvent the wheel. Gwen's back, and a Neela is coming into life. And it's an interesting champion, right? Because of the passive of, you know, the shared experience, the shield interactions, the ability, obviously with your ultimate, almost acting like a melee Orianna, if you will, right? Grouping them all up together, but a ton of scaling built into the kit, right? From all the critical strike that you acquire, all the armor shred afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely had some games where Neela gets the 3-4 items and suddenly heals to full HP off one ultimate, is able to tank, you know, multiple members for the entire fight. But maybe this is a pick that Bliss have gone with into this Viari, saying, okay, if you're going to lock me down, I've got that W there, I've got that guaranteed, you know, denial of any auto attacks that are going to come out to me. So yes, you can vial me, but realistically, what's actually coming after that, right? Rage isn't going to be able to hit you. You're going to be able to absorb all of this damage. So Bliss, a team, I mean, I talked about it in the pre-show, right? This is one of the deepest champion pool teams in the entire league, right? They've got so much prep behind them. And game one showing that to a T.
I'm expecting this is just us skimming the surface of the prep that both of these teams have got into this series, expecting a full best of 5. We have finally arrived when it really is a chance to test deep champion pools. And it starts right here in game number 1. We mentioned before these teams have met on multiple occasions, currently tied up at 9 games apiece. And they're looking to try and showcase once again why they are the better team in the region. The Chiefs currently the back-to-back champions, looking to make it 3 times in a row. As for Bliss, much like Historics mentions, this is their chance at revenge.
It is their chance at revenge. They want to prove that Split 1 was an upset. They've got Arkia in now. They are a different team, and they are the team that deserves that first place trophy. But as we load into game, I cannot help but take my eyes away from Daystar here on this Jace, right? You look at a Vi Aria on the opposite side, they're going to be looking to get active mid early. Why not as well? If Jace transforms into Hammer form, you can basically one-shot anyone, provided you land that CC combo. And here we go, onto the Rift for game 1 of the upper bracket final.
With that in mind then, let's see if anything happens at the level 1 mark, or if we're just going to be fanning ourselves out here, covering our bases and making sure nothing goes awry.
This is the weirdest summoner spell check I think I've ever seen, right? So starting in the top lane, we've got an exhaust TP from Liv. Now this is something I personally love into Kennen, because Kennen simply cannot play versus exhaust, right? You chuck it on him in a slicing maelstrom, he is completely nullified, right? Because Arkia has opted for the heal down bot lane, Liv says, okay, I'll be the one to take that. Gwen, obviously not a champion that really needs a flash. And similarly, in a weird vein, we've got the Ghost Cleanse on Neela. Perhaps one of the only times we're seeing this spell isn't an instant dodge, because like the Gwen, Neela has so much mobility built into her kit. She likes getting up close and personal that she doesn't really need that flash.
No, and is very similar to the Gwen in that fact, right, where you do want more uptime, the ability to run members down because of that very close quarter range and needing that dash more so than anything, the slipstream to get yourself into safety. And really into the mix of things above all else. We did see this matchup, or rather this Summoner Spell combination yesterday from Tomasino playing the Gwen into Tien's Rumble. Obviously for the similar sort of situation, right? Shut down all that burst damage and makes a lot of sense into the cannon.
Yeah, absolutely does. Question is, will he be able to survive the early levels, right? That's always the issue when you do opt for the exhaust instead of a flash or a ghost, that if Babip, you know, visits you at the 3 camp timing, you are potentially a bit more vulnerable. But like Liv talked about in his interview, right, he's not anticipating Babip to come towards topside. We can already see he's opting for the red start into Krugs, assuming he will be making his way down towards his bot lane. And given it is a Neela, right, given it is this skirmish-heavy focus lane from Bliss, you want to be around this bot lane as much as you can if you're Babip.
Absolutely, right? You get the Jubilant Veil coming on through, you just dodge out on all the damage for a hot second. And it certainly means you can take some fairly winning trades as Arkia jumps in and does basically just that. Look at Eladoric's health as a result of that one. This is a Nautilus that wants to be aggressive, but it's going to be tamed for the meantime as Wynot goes for a bit of a roam. Actually, good timing on the sweeper there, clears out the vision as he works his way towards the Raptors.
Yeah, I do believe that ward got spotted at level 1, I think, maybe perhaps from the side of Bliss, so they knew that it was there for Wynot to sweep, but no real surprises in the junglers both getting active towards bot lane, mid lane. Feeling pretty even as well. Daystar's actually opted for the Doran shield and Resolve secondary, so actually quite a defensive setup. He's gone into the Ahri, saying that as long as I get through laning phase, that's really all I need to do. I'm going to be a monster regardless.
Yeah, no first strike Jace here today, right? No chance to really farm up some gold from afar. You are expecting Kissa to be very aggressive. You are anticipating that Babip would poke his head into that mid lane to try and find fights going in their favor. Nice ward though, however, from Bliss, which is going to scout out that Babip is taking his blue buff right now. Speaking as a top laner, how do you see this matchup going?
Well, basically, Biopanther gets to do whatever he wants, really, in the early game. He always has that range advantage, and he's gone for the Aerie, so going to be able to put a decent amount of poke on towards Liv. As soon as level 6 comes through, there always is the risk of a solo kill, right, if you do misstep, if you do push up a bit too far. But skirmishing a little bit on bot lane here.
Yeah, it's looking like a few bits of damage being chucked out left and right. Arkia this time walking away worse for wear. Is everybody kind of grouping up? You can see the mid lane is also coming just to help out here with that very first Scuttle Crab. 4v4 as the smite secures it. And the charm connects. Now will that fight break out? Will that mean that is the first blood as a result? Grand entrance goes in. Limus looking to try and dash away. The Sejuani passes a little bit too much. The first blood goes the way of Daystar, but they're still hunting for more. Kisse evens it up. Both mid laners with a killer piece, but Daystar makes it too. Double trouble as they run away.
Good luck to whoever on either team has to counter summoner spells there. Almost every single flash gets committed. It starts off with a bit of an awkward stare-off, right? That both teams wanting to go for Scuttle Crab, but not sure whether they can really walk into the river. And crucially, it's the hook that misses from Aladoric here. Tries to find Arkia, but doesn't connect. And then Arkia with a massive 2-man grand entrance that really starts the fight off for the side of Bliss.
A little bit too easy with them to fight with a composition that's really working its way around a Sejuani. You can rip back the feathers, you can get the charm, but after that, damage from the Jace is done.
And this is why Sejuani is so valuable in these early game fights, right? You look at how many melee champions Team Bliss have. Is straight out of the replay, Biopanther.
And you were just saying how valuable Sejuani was.
Yeah, I mean, he falls down, the exhaust is committed, but Bliss's wave, Liv's wave rather, is in a very good spot. So just a death you'd have to imagine from trying to get that wave in, and why not showing up at the right time, as he so often does.
And he certainly has always been hailed for some fantastic pathing, and is going to find success not only in the bot lane, but also in the top lane, influencing those matchups to go a little bit more in their favor, as they do now lead 3 kills to 1, only 5 minutes into this game. You'd imagine things might just simmer down just a fraction as we wait for level 6.
As we get a replay of what happened in top lane, yeah, so why not basically bases and run straight from base to this? Biopanther's not expecting it, he just needs to kill these couple minions. And it's the exhaust that really seals it, right? The second that comes through, Biopanther realizes that he's dead even if he uses flash, so opting to save that summoner spell instead. Still up a decent amount of CS, that's certainly going to help Liv get towards these Merc treads, stabilize what is a rough lane in the early game.
Well, it certainly is. So with TP burn and ultimate now acquired, let's make the question, and if he'll look to try and find impact elsewhere, whether it be a kill in the 1v1, knowing that the exhaust is down, the burst can no longer be negated, or if he decides to group up for a very first objective like this one here, if not now, then towards that Herald, as you can see so far. Chiefs are the ones looking to start things up, and it's Bliss deciding whether they want to respond or not.
Well, I think the main factor that makes Chiefs feel confident in doing this is the mid lane, right? Kisse able to shove that wave because Daystar's on a base, has the level 6 prior to. Because so many flashes were expended, standing in the river against an Ahri who has that Spirit Rush available is incredibly dangerous, right? The potential for you to get charmed This is still looking though. The Dragon's very low and hooks on.
The Dragon is very low. It actually gets spied at a fraction early, but that won't matter because they take down Arceus. So they found 2 so far. Can they find a third? As Kisei, with 1 more Spirit Rush available, goes in for the damage. But without any CC, you cannot lock Limes down.
Why not the bodyguard there, making sure nothing lands onto Limes besides those feathers? But you have to question what Arceus was doing, right? The Dragon was very clearly the Chiefs. He just walks up, gets hooked, and gives a free kill over. So the objective and a kill very much equalized this game for the Chiefs.
That it certainly does. It's going to feel very good for them. Dead even game is where we find ourselves returning to now. And do you think it's living up to your expectations so far? The fact that it has been as explosive with the creative drafting that you'd want to see in a game 1?
Yeah, it's absolutely been everything I've wanted so far, right? I mean, it shows that the teams have respect for each other the way that earlier skirmish panned out, right? Neither of them wanting to just pull the trigger haphazardly, but both of them in the end saying, hey, we are more than happy to fight if that is what it calls for. And I think that, especially around this bot lane, it's going to be incredibly important to watch, right? Yes, Lima's got those kills earlier, but he's now down 20 CS to raise Neela. Not the greatest champion in lane just because of that range discrepancy, and he's going for the lethality build, so spikes early. Obviously, we don't really see this champion too much, so it will be interesting to see what he actually goes for with that. You know, traditionally you do see some of the lifesteal builds come through, the Ravenous Hydra of the like, just become this very sustain-heavy champion with the Conqueror. But Liam is looking to pivot away from that, at least so far.
Yeah, I wonder if that's just going to be a collector being rushed first of all, then obviously pivoting into your more standard items thereafter. We've seen some different variations across the world, one even actually leading into a static shiv just to really accentuate that wave clear, but I think your typical build really is all around the Gale Force with that collector's being completed as well. So second objective now being looked at. And much like you mentioned before, the reasons, the strengths that Chief had to go towards that Dragon, same could be said for Bliss. They had the tempo, they had the ability to rotate their members first. That does afford, however, Raze a bit of freedom in the bot lane to get a lot of those plates.
Yeah, Raze is feeling really great right now. Sure, the Team Bliss get their Herald as why not towards mid, but Charmed land, so it won't really be too much. But absolutely, Bliss feeling very confident in their topside 3v3, obviously having basically 3 melee champions once Jace switches to pair alongside that Sejuani. And you have the exhaust as well, right? So anyone who dives in will just get exhausted and goes down. But meanwhile, Skimmy, that bot lane, it's now a 30 CS lead for Raze in addition to the plates he's picked up. This AD carry's been quietly achieving, but is feeling very good for the Chiefs.
That's just classic Raze, isn't it? Always identifying situations in which he can find himself a lead. If you are going to abuse the laning phase, knowing that the matchup is having such a big discrepancy when it comes to the range, well, why not just sneak in some extra gold as well? Get that first item online, hit that mythic as quickly as you can, and really shut down the condition where a collector wants to spike, wants to be powerful, but then feels useless.
Yeah, absolutely. Collector, yes, it got buffed, but certainly an item that if you're not ahead, it feels quite bad. The question to me now becomes, where do we want to see this Herald dropped, right? Obviously, bot lane is the logical place just because of how volatile this lane is. There's a bit of trading so far. Now, keep in mind, there is no cleanse on Raze, right? So if he doesn't react to the initial Glacial Prison from Sejuani, there is a very good likelihood that he does just get blown up. Why not sitting on Vision here, and this recall could potentially bait it. We'll see if the Chiefs fall for the trap.
When he's got tools to try and evade it, Raze does have the flash, he does have the ultimate, the ghost goes out, the flash away is phenomenal when the Glacial Prison connects onto Aladoric, out come the feathers, the red back is going to lock them all in place, and Aladoric will die, but Cease and Desist comes out, and it's Raze that takes down Limus. They're still hunting for more though, Max. A beautiful 2-man knocker from the Rakan, a fantastic flash away, and nearly Chiefs found more.
The Chiefs play that beautifully, to be honest. The initial flash from Aladoric is great, and then, like you mentioned, the feather recall ripping through all 3 members buys enough time for Babib to get down there. Ultimately, only a 1-for-1 trade, right? But the important thing is that both members don't have to go back to base, right? Raze is able to stay. There's no opportunity for the Herald to be dropped that really could be the difference maker. As we see once again, right, the initial engage onto Aladoric, but the flash of the Grand Entrance is really what saves him here. Forces the ultimate to have to be committed from Sejuani, and when you're chucking so much onto this Nautilus, it really allows Raze to stand back, free hit, and once Babib comes in, he's just on clean-up shoot.
And it just makes it so easy for Raze, right? You've already put Limus behind so far, now he's dead, you pick up the killing blow, you look at the CS discrepancy now, and I mean, it is just criminal at this point of the game. It's only 11 minutes in.
Kraken Slayer as well, right? And Xayah is one of the best champions at dealing with a Neela, especially if she's jumping on top of you. Suddenly you're against a Kraken Slayer Xayah who is going to shred you to pieces before you can even do anything. So this bot lane certainly becoming a point of concern for Bliss.
No doubt then an argument to be made that Daystar once again, a force to be reckoned with. How much can he get done? Because outside of those 2 kills, they've been quietly achieving in their lane. Being kept occupied here by Kisei, but the second dragon has now spawned. Chiefs getting the first one, are ready to go for dragon number 2. He's going to be on vision. And this one, we wonder, will Bliss contest?
I mean, if you're Bliss, I really don't think you can, given the strength that Raze has with this Kraken Slayer now completed. They are going to look at a play very similar to what happened before. TP's on.
They're going to go in, but they're not going to smite Secure. It's 2 to Chiefs right now, but the fight is going to continue. Aladoric is to be the focus. Stunned out by the Sejuani passive once again. Kisei's running, the ultimate's still there. Glacial Prison connecting, and Raze is dead. And that's what you need for Lina, but the slicing Maelstrom is massive. But it gets denied by the exhaust. Phenomenal work there by Liv. They're going to summon the Herald in the process as well. And then Kisei says, I'm going to get some blood on my hands too. He takes 2 kills. He jumps away. And that was too close for comfort.
A game of inches there. The Chiefs looked like they were backing out originally, but Bliss, unwilling to let them get away for free, decided they're going to keep chasing, and Biopanther, a massive ultimate onto 3 members. And Why Not as well, unfortunately, took 2 turret shots off the back of that, which gave Kisei the reset. Here goes the initial play, right? TP comes out, and the initial engage interrupted actually from Aladoric's hook there. He pays the price with his own life, and this is where Chiefs make the decision. They try to get out, but Bliss are not going to accept that. They are not going to give up this easily. And it's a slicing Maelstrom. Look how much damage this does, and Kisei dashing around the fight, getting reset after reset, and here's where Why Not takes the second turret shot, gives Kisei the kill and the reset to enable this fight to actually end up as a 2-for-2.
And that's what allows them to disengage away to safety, absolutely, as you point out. But my God, imagine if Biopanther's ultimate wasn't exhausted there. He just gets the quadra kill off the bat as easily as you like. Perfect position. But a great response from Bliss. They knew the target they were after. They locked down Raze. They punished the fact that he didn't have the ultimate available at that time. And now they might be looking for a second kill as they collapse onto Kisei, but the ult's back up. And he very easily jumps away.
Forcing that ult is really nice though from the side of Bliss, right? Gives Daystar a lot more freedom as actually Babib's towards this mid lane. No ult available just yet. But it does make his 1v1 a lot easier, right? He can play with a bit more aggression. As the Chiefs, very aggressive towards this bot lane. They know their point of strength, and they're not afraid to use it.
Yep, they certainly aren't. Very keen to rotate and roam as the squad. Even Raze there, you can see squaring up in the dark, not really concerned who he'd find. Given it is that Chemtech map, it does mean that these blast cones are taking you a very great distance. So certainly being very nimble around the map as a result. Whilst the play doesn't work bot side, Why Not is now peeking his head into top side, seeing if he can find anything here into Biopanther again, but the lane state not really too desirable for that.
Evan Shroud as well here for the Sejuani first item, very much resigning himself to the support role. Why Not has actually averaged an incredibly low damage percentage for his team this playoffs, around 8% of his team's damage across the series versus the Direwolves. And it's going to be the Herald started up here. There are 5 members for Bliss in the area, though, if they did want to look for this. All ultimates available as well, Skimmy.
Everything up and available, and Gale Force now completed here by Limes. As in we go, that's Bevan looking for the kill on towards Why Not, but he flashes away, instantly regrets that decision. The quickness, the charm, the CC, and the kill. That's a lot of ultimates burnt to take down a fight. And Chiefs still have everything available.
Chiefs still have the Kennen ultimate, they've still got the Nautilus ultimate, the key ones there. Yes, the members down, and it is the jungler, so no smite available, but the Chiefs are looking.
Fireface checking, hitting the slicing Maelstrom onto 1, so they take down the support. Maybe not the best target, but they'll take what they can get. It's a 4v4, but they still don't have their junglers, so this Herald is never theirs to take. As easy as you like it, then both teams will just disengage and accept their reality.
I mean, I guess you're fine with that, right? If you are Arky, you do go down to the Herald, but at the end of the day, you're happy with that positive gold trade. To me, the initial mistake from Babib to use this ultimate here, he just goes so deep, right? And you look at the positioning of Raze and Kisei here, they're back over this wall. There is no way they're actually going to be able to hit anyone. I think he threw that anticipating the hook to land.
100%.
And when it doesn't, he just looks absolutely foolish, going down instantly. But it is that ult economy from Bliss that actually makes the Chiefs think that they can continue this fight.
Certainly could have been a very different story if the hook had connected there from Alador. It would have bought enough time and space, obviously, then Kisei and Raze to respond. But they do great to then catch at Arky for the second time in a row right now, completely separated from the rest of his team, trying to play gold D, but really, you're not strong enough as the support to do that.
You get the slicing Maelstrom out though, right? So at the end of the day, Chiefs can't really contest after that point. You are happy, but Second Herald in the hand of Team Bliss now. Not a single turret yet, actually, has fallen on the map, right? So going to be looking at them potentially around this mid lane, which is roughly at the execute threshold. It is now for that Herald to come out. So look at Bliss, 20 seconds on Dragon as well. Could potentially use it as a decoy and then head towards that objective to prevent the Chiefs from heading onto Soul Point.
That it certainly could. Everything's soon up and available once again when we come to a collision here with all ultimates. To find that success, quick summoner check, and Ghost isn't available, nor is the cleanse here for Danila. So Limus certainly could be in trouble if he can't find himself a safe passage away. As for Raze though, he has that Ghost, he has that flash. Why not lock him down again?
Biopanther flash as well, just coming up. This is huge for Kennen. Now level 12, has that second point in the ultimate. TP's on from bot side from Liv, but the Dragon's almost dead, Skimmy.
Certainly is. Herald's been summoned in the process at the exact same time. In goes Lividon trying to cause a bit of chaos. Look at him! Snipped him down! He's taken two! That was far too easy for the top laner of Bliss. And Biopanther never got a chance to hit the flank, never got a chance to play Kennen.
For all the times Arthur got caught this game, he makes up for it right there. The perfect engage sets it up so nicely for Liv just to cut through anyone. It looked so easy because they were all CC'd by the quickness, by that grand entrance. And Bliss, they get the Dragon, they drop the Herald, they get two charges mid lane. A massive swing for the boys on blue.
That it certainly is. This game has been as close as anything right now, and that certainly is now creating a little bit of daylight between these teams, giving them a bit of a chance to breathe easier. To sing their praises and to see the map success as a result. That's going to be two turrets falling on down.
So look at the TP here, right? Lived is the initial focus of Chiefs' attention. They want to turn towards him, but that leaves all this room for Arthur. And look at that engage. Just huge. Lands perfectly over the second and third cast of the needlework. And Liv doesn't even have to do anything. He just presses his button and says, thank you very much, Arthur. I'll take those kills. I'll take that Dragon.
You'll be the support, I'll be the hero, I'll be the carry that gets all the spoils, but we all knew who made that play so successful. As you quite rightly point out. Well then, 3,000 gold, soon to be the lead here for Bliss. As they will get that Dragon denied away from a potential soul point that Chiefs were hunting for. No longer as easy as they would have liked. But they are still keen on their own. As they look to now turn their attention, especially their vision, towards the top half of the map.
Yeah, I mean, they still have a very strong pick comp, right? So denying that vision is incredibly important. You have a Nautilus Q, you have an RE that could come out. Either of those land, it's probably going to be a kill, right? So the Chiefs still doing a good job despite losing their fighters. 1v1 top lane, there's no flash for Bio.
Yeah, with the ultimate already been burnt from Biopanther, and the exhaust means once again he has nowhere left to run. He's burnt the flash, he's fallen on down, the 1v1 in shambles right now, but in we go, massive depth charge, denies Arkia the initial engage, and Aladoric is separated from the team. Limus kills him with the Gale Falls Execute, and Kisei is dashing around trying to find his target, trying to find his damage. But Raze can't do much to salvage a situation as poor as that.
Things are getting bad for the Chiefs. They lose the 1v1. Liv takes out Biopanther, no questions asked. And on the other side of the map, Chiefs potentially a bit distracted by their teammate falling, get caught out by Why Not. Once again, Bliss working, using this Nyla perfectly, finding pick after pick as we take an initial look at the 1v1, right? The second that Kennen doesn't have flash and gets caught by that first R, he's dead, right? He's going to be slowed for eternity, especially with the exhaust to come through from Liv. And now this is a real problem. You've got a Gwen in the side lane. Kennen and Ari don't want to deal with her. And meanwhile, topside, who actually kills Why Not here? Raze is busy hitting a vision plant, gets CC'd up by Arky throughout the entire fight, so isn't DPSing. And it's real easy for Team Bliss.
It really is. Once they get that very first kill, they just turn their attention to the next one on the chopping block. And as you can see there, Raze forced to back away. Never really given a chance to output the damage they needed to respond. Back to base they go though, and a very quick blade's now complete for the Zide. The Horizon Focus also done as a second purchase for Kisei. We do check in with the overall gold, and you can see it is Raze and Lived fighting for the #1 position.
Yeah, Lived having completed that Shadow Flame now as well, going to be doing a lot of damage even just through his abilities. Other notable purchases include this stopwatch here from the side of Limus, right? Saying that, okay, I know I'm going to be a focus, I know I'm going to be in the thick of it, so having that stopwatch going to allow me a bit of extra time for my team to catch up. And why not, you know, he's a player I've always credited for having very innovative builds, very, you know, thoughtful builds, not just going the meta, what everyone else buys. Has opted for the Abyssal Mask second, right? So not only going to increase his durability against these AP threats, but also going to help the likes of Liv do a bit more damage in these extended fights.
And why not, given the fact of how strong this Gwen is right now. 3-4, 2 items done with the Rift Maker, you are packing a bit of a punch at that point of the mid game. So certainly making life even better for them. I guess the question becomes then, who actually handles you in the side lane? Because if Bipanther continues to fall on down in this fashion, then that is a bit of a sore spot on the map that you can't really deal with.
As here we go, they think they've found Daystar.
They certainly do feel like they found him. Is he going to get a trade? He does! Are you kidding me? Daystar ganks 1v2 and he takes the kill. Bio TP's in, he falls on down, and this situation is an absolute catastrophe, Max. Everybody in all separate situations across the map, they're dying.
Daystar somehow wins a 1v2. Meanwhile, the mid AD of Bliss are taking their own 2v2 kill, and all across the board it's these individual skirmishes. Bliss are just mechanically outplaying them, and the Baron will be their prize.
Well, for any kind of woes they might have had in the early game where the bot lane wasn't working in their favor, it just does not matter anymore. Bliss are back on top, and I mean, the gank, Daystar's playing it patiently. They hard force it, but he just turns it around.
I mean, he knows Mammoth's here, but the Q doesn't land, and crucially, those Merc Treads provide so much value to get him out of this CC early that he's able to flash get the kill. And as soon as that Duskblade invulnerability comes through, Mammoth knows he can't press any further forward. And of course, Liv's here. Of course, he's here to take out Bipanther once again.
Both top laners instantly TPing in, anticipating the fight, ready to go. And ready to showcase just how strong they are. We were complimenting the Gwen before, now another kill added to that scoreboard. Side lanes at this point are becoming a bit of a grim reality, it has to be said now. And Bliss are certainly exploiting that weakness.
Well, that's the thing, right? Kennen and Ari both suck at clearing Baron waves. Kennen especially, as Aladoric caught by Liv here. No flash, he's just dead.
Yeah, Liv went for the exhaust on towards him. You can hit one hook, but you'll find yourself another target kill. Number 5 now for Liv. As really, I mean, they're rampaging your champions, they're taking down your structures. They're getting closer to your base.
They're getting closer to your base. Luckily, though, for the Chiefs, the waves are slightly desynced, right? You can see the mid-wave still has a while to go before it will actually pressure the turret. So Chiefs can feel comfortable going between those two, not feeling like they're going to lose anything on the other side of the map. But every time it feels like the Chiefs go for vision, every time it feels like they go for a little play, they're instantly punished. And the mid lane turret going to be the focus of that aggression now.
Well, 9,000 gold down. What can Chiefs do to try and answer back in a game 1 situation like this? A 1-for-1 so far as Neela jumps in. Lemus gets the kill. Charm connects into Why Not. And do they have the damage? Well, they certainly do now, because Bice found the ultimate that he needs. No exhaust, no problem, he says. But then they're forced to flash away. Ray splash feathers. Can't take Daystar. He limps away once again. 30 health to his name. And the blast cone denies it, as the flash hook wasn't enough to secure it.
That flash hook was a postcode away from landing, but Aladoric not content on giving up here. There's a Baron recall, but Daystar might kill it.
Why, Max? Why did he face check? It's illegal. And Raze now tries to have a crack at him as well. Surely he falls this time. It's a massive shutdown, but even look at Ray's health bar.
Yeah, you're worried about the plot protection there being a bit too strong there for Daystar, but does eventually go down. But crucially, Skimmy, Daystar puts in enough work that the Chiefs can't even get this dragon. They can't even put themselves on soul point off the back of that. This is a huge overreach from Bliss, right? This is just overconfidence. Arkia, the initial one who gets charmed in NCC. This is not a tanky Rakan by any means. And then the rest of Bliss are very unsure as to whether they actually want to run away or they want to turn. But because they are a bit desynced, they play into the charms. They're not able to get that cohesive engage. And Chiefs finally find a fight in their favor.
Yeah, feeling strong enough with the Baron buff to set up a siege and go for this one, but it does grant Chiefs down 10,000 gold at that point. A good opportunity to get themselves back into it. Now down 7,000 as they will respawn, they will regroup, and they will claim themselves Drake number 3.
That's big, right? It obviously is the Chemtech Soul, so not something you're, feeling like is instantly going to win them the game, but certainly helps to have that in their back pocket, deny any further power stacking for the side of Bliss. But now looking at this Jace, the Spear of Shojin completed as well. Deathcap almost on the way for Liv. These solo laners, incredibly scary for the side of Chiefs, and it doesn't get any better, right? The longer this game goes on, the more that side lane pressure is going to mount. Both Jace and Gwen, real threats in their own right.
Which is terrifying, because at what point do you concede the side lanes and say for Chiefs, let's just group up, let's just continue to fight as a 5-man squad, forget these lanes exist, and just basically fight around slicing Maelstrom CD.
I mean, one thing that they tried to do before, right, was pick that side lane. They did use the Vine already to try to find that Jace. Kisei's looking for Lemus.
He certainly has, but he's missed the Everfrost. The cleanse out of the charm means that they aren't going to find much more than that, but a TP in means that Liv is keen to try and force that fight, but Arkia goes in. Aladoric denies that. Slicing Maelstrom comes on out, and they take one in the process. Arkia is dead, and Chiefs are just winning down so much gold, but taking the kills.
Aladoric is the MVP of that fight, something he's done so many times this game. but cancels the ground entrance, and it's perfect, right? The flash is there, the quickness from RK. You can see the play with 4 members of Chiefs grouped up on top of each other, but Aladoric cancels it. And like you said, Skimmy, they're down so much gold, they're down so many kills, they shouldn't be able to do this, but they are.
They're finding ways back in, showcasing that championship mentality. As for Bliss, though, they are still incredibly strong. We cannot discount that for a second. Certainly, when the next objective presents itself, expect them to be the first towards it. But let's just check in with this fight once again. It all starts with Kisei just isolating out Limas.
Yeah, the Everfrost misses, the Charm lands, is initially cleansed, and you feel as soon as the TP comes through, the engage is going to happen. But look at Aladoric there. Basically, the second the flash is committed, rather, he knows that that play is going to come out. He knows that W is going to be cast and interrupted. And for what it's worth, right, all that gold doesn't matter if you're not actually landing your abilities, if Aladoric's able to interrupt them time and time again.
And you know what that looks like to me? That looks like a Rakan main, knowing what Rakan wants to do.
Absolutely. He has his plays mapped out like the back of his hand, really. And every second the Chiefs can stall, right, it's a second longer for Raze to be able to get these items. Yes, I would say that their comp does somewhat get outscaled because of that Gwen, because of that Neela coming through, but Raze is certainly the player who can, in a 35-40 minute fight, can be the difference maker, can really turn the game on its head. And the game slowed down for what it's worth. Baron in 45 seconds, though.
It certainly is. Last time we checked in, it was Raze having the most gold in the game, and I'd imagine he still is top of the table as well, because he's got himself 3 items complete, a component there too. There it is. There's the confirmation. As long as Raze is there, as long as Raze gets a chance to hit a champion, then there's a chance.
There is always a chance with Raze, and Chiefs once again looking around mid lane. Babip, very aggressive with that Vault Breaker there. I think he does have a bit of fear, though, from the last time that he used that ultimate to get into the back line and ended up being separated from his team and taken down. So he raises the question of how much do Bliss actually want to play towards these side lanes, right? Because Daystar is actually quite vulnerable if he is left alone to these flanks, to a potential TP behind from a Biopanther or a Kisei. And if he goes down, Baron's up. That could be the turning point.
But I'm quite curious as to the approach that Bliss will take. Will they decide that we are stronger as a 5-man squad, so let's group up and force Chiefs to entertain that? Or the side lanes are so much of a strong point for us too.
Live?
How can Chiefs respond to that? Out go the feathers, down goes the snip, and it is to be the slicing Maelstrom to try and shut down the fight. Daystar on the flank, shot blast, delete, and Raze doesn't exist anymore. And that's what you need. When Babbitt jumps in, it just does not matter, because the angle's just being so profitable here for Bliss, as their solo laners march their way through anybody that lays in their wake.
Kisei's pretty fast, so he is going to be able to run here, but Bliss almost started a very similar way to the play before, with Limas getting caught out, but luckily this time he has the stopwatch. He's able to buy so much time and live for what it's worth. Just able to force the Xayah ultimate with that needlework, does so much damage that Raze feels like he has to use that. And then it is the flank from Daystar coming in, finding that shock blast onto the carries. As we take a look again, right, it is just Liv clearing, and it is just a straight ultimate being used, right? Raze with a bit of disrespect, walking too far forwards, forced to use that early on. And look at Limas. I mean, this poor guy cannot move whatsoever, but has just enough time to get into the stopwatch. That allows Daystar on the backline, who's killing Raze, who's killing this Nautilus as well. And then it's a Gwen Sejuani at this time, and a Gwen who's 6-0 nonetheless, with a death cap in hand. No one's killing him.
Well, there's your answer. I was just posting a question before we went into that fight as to what would be the strength for Bliss to close this one out, hit the side lanes or group up as 5. Well, apparently, if you just group up as 5 and showcase just how strong you are, funnily enough, you actually win.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Who would have known as Liv is going to spot out the flank here for Babbitt. He's actually going to go aggressively. There's 3 members, but Skimmy, they don't do any damage. Aladoric is going to be caught by Liv.
Yeah, and look, Liv can literally keep them here all day long as the rest of his team regroups up in the bot lane. In we go, double ultimate's trying to lock down Liv in the meantime, but he just turns gold, and Babbitt is about to fall on down. The slicing Maelstrom comes on out, apotheosis in the backline from Limas. That's a frontline 80 carry who knows his target and gets the double kill. Make it free as he runs for a 4th. There is your ace. And forget the dragon, just go to end.
This is why we picked the Nyla. Limas says someone needs to kill this backline, someone needs to get on Raze. It's going to be him. He takes matters into his own hands, gets into the backline and lived by so much time. 1v3s for the entire start of that play, but Bliss say, thank you very much for your sacrifice, we'll take the game.
And you said, how do they damage him, especially with the Hallowed Mist down? It's just not possible. It is simply not possible for a Fed Eddie carry to hit you from a million miles away. Bliss, what a game in game number 1 here. 31 minutes on the dot. They had a moment, and then they never let their foot off the pedal. They'll take game 1 in this best of 5 series.
29 kills, 31 minutes. Put in Babbitt, put in Kevy. We don't care. We'll beat them anyway. A commanding performance for Bliss to open the series.
A different idea on what the draft could look like, a different playstyle too. If you're not going to gank the top lane, I'm just going to win it. 1v1 said lived. If you're not going to try anything crazy on your end, then we're just going to draft ourselves the Nila. We're going to make it work. You can put us behind in the laning phase. You can farm up an absolute storm. You can have the most gold in the game. It doesn't matter because I have a team that are stronger in every other category. So what a way to start off an upper bracket final.
I mean, the draft in itself, the champions coming out from Team Bliss, I loved it. We had a big discussion backstage about everything that they could have done, everything that could have been exploited on the side of Chiefs, and it was a bit of a closer early game. Obviously, there was that initial slight advantage for Bliss, but around those Drake fights, Rusty, there were some question marks around it. Chiefs really looked good.
Yeah, I mean, it started really well for Bliss, immediately went back. You always started New York there for a second.
Did I?
Looking real good. Sorry, it really distracted me from the point. Yeah, wow. Remarkable.
Thank you.
I want to go all the way back to the draft, though, because for me, that was like the biggest curveball that we've had in a while. And I want to talk about the idea behind Bliss's composition as well, and how there is a lot of value to it, right? So Nila's a melee character. Sejuani now has a bit more value, has 3 melee lanes to work with effectively. So the Sejuani stocks are through the roof in this draft. Also, the thing that people seem to forget about Nila as a pick is her E, Jubilant Veil, stops auto attacks from hitting you, but also gives you 25% magic resistance to everybody that you hit. And their comp is all melee. So Lemus is hitting everyone with this ability on his own team, which means a Cannon ult is doing 25% less damage and also has an exhaust on his face. And when you consider all of that, it's very difficult to execute team fights if you're Chiefs and you have a front to back. They're so reliant on flanks to make things work perfectly in theory. And that's not including Gwen and her being untargetable, right? And being able to body by a Panther out of these skirmishes. And the second this Gwen got a lead, the second Lived got ahead, it became near insurmountable for the Chiefs in terms of how mammoth a task that actually was. And Chiefs still put a lot of fight into this game, I will say. Now they absolutely tried their best to stay with the tempo of Bliss, but once they got those leads, this comp was near unstoppable.
Yeah, I mean, they were taking skirmishes left and right. They were split up. I was very impressed with Liv all throughout this, for all those reasons that you said, the lead that he was able to get for himself, always being on top, being in the right position to be able to use that exhaust on Cannon. So it was amazing from him, but also just the engages from Arkia. I did like Daystar as well on Jace. Maybe you heard Kisei's interview where he said he believed that he was the best Jace mid laner. I was like, actually, I have something to say about that, bro. Give me Jace and I'll really show you how to play it. So a fantastic showing from them. We're going to see the post-game stats here, the damage dealt, the gold difference. That minor little dip there, going back in favor of Chiefs, but definitely nowhere near enough for Bliss not to be able to close this one out. Something else I don't want to talk about, these items, you're explaining it to me, Rusty, but I think everyone else needs to know too. These Merc treads and why they were so important for this earlier part as well for Bliss.
Yeah, I wanted to bring this up because we didn't see it yesterday. I know Skimmy will hear it ringing in his ears, me saying buy Merc treads about 35 times in the first 5 minutes of the whole last
series. It's your new mantra. Yeah. Buy Merc treads, buy Merc treads, yeah. Buy Merc treads.
Go to sleep, I shut my eyes and I hear myself saying buy Merc treads and I have nightmares. Bliss all rushed Merc treads, and the value of this into Chiefs composition was also immense, right? So like these early fights that are happening at Drake's, things that Bliss were trying to force. First of all, everybody on the side of Chiefs had a stun. They had some kind of basic stun route, crowd control that Merc treads would work against. Also, they had a lot of magic damage, right? So very easy to just itemize a simple item. Like it really is simple. The explanation, not going to be deep, but they built the right thing. And it has a lasting impact in the game.
It's what Max even called out in that top lane when the 1v2 happened for Daystar, right? He's been charmed, he's been locked down by the VAR, he gets himself out of it and just managed to get the reset on the Duskblade, right, to survive. So, yeah, itemization proving to be invaluable.
Yeah, I think it was 4 out of 5 of them all sort of rushed those Merc treads, and it really paid off every fight. If they didn't have it, maybe it was just that slight advantage for them to be able to escape, that little bit that could have given Chiefs the advantage overall, but they weren't able to do it. It was Bliss taking game number 1 in this best of 5. So the fact it's a best of 5, a lot of learnings to come out. I like the creativity coming out in game 1. Do you think it's a trajectory that they will continue with? Some more creative picks coming out? Yeah? You all, that was unanimous.
100%.
Wow.
Well, this is the thing, right? You won with it on game 1. Not only did you pick the Nila, you've now won with it. So suddenly Chiefs have to worry about this Death Ball melee comp whenever they pick the Viari. And then it's like, well, we can't be banning Nyla, right? We've already first banning Blitzcrank on red side. Like, how many bans do we realistically have? So now Chiefs have a lot of work to do in draft.
Yeah, draft a big question, side select as well. We don't have it ready, but I want to entertain the conversation about it. If you think that Chiefs will still double down again, if they're still going to be more comfortable on the red side, or if you want to take this blue side away, because then it gives you this advantage of what are we going to ban away, what are we more than willing to keep in, because there was that Tristana Kaiser sort of handshake of let's just take them both out.
Yeah, the Jace was traded for Zaya and Vi, I think is the first thing that I would look at here, right? Leaving the Jace open. They banned the Blitzcrank and the Jax essentially in its place. I think Lived has now proven that the Jax ban's not going to do anything. He still has plenty of other carries in that holy trinity. There's now got 5 champions instead. So I think Chiefs have a lot of freedom with their ban phase to explore options for beating Bliss pretty safely.
Okay.
Because really they didn't ban 3 OPs at all. So plenty there for them. And side select wise, I mean, I think they can just stick with red and change those bans.
Well, look, we'll see. It's going to come up. It is ready for us now to take a look at where Chiefs went. They did go blue side, so it is going to be a bit of a swap up. Maybe put Bliss on a side that they're not as comfortable with. Again, I want to bring it back to those stats that we looked at quite a little bit ago today, was that Bliss have always looked better on blue side. They've always favored blue side as well. So they kind of go hand in hand there. Now that they're being put on red side, I know for a fact they've prepared for it, but it is going to be that comfort level again. And there's also not going to be any substitutions for either team.
Okay.
So Babip will still be staying in for Chiefs.
We were low-key expecting one. I'm not going to lie. I was actually backstage saying I think it might be Kevy time. But that is a surprise to me.
I think I'm surprised because of how top lane went. And again, when we saw them in regular split, they played that one game with Babip. They brought in Kevy. They made a very top side favored. They made that the stronger side out of the two of them. And I thought, considering how that top lane went for them in game 1, that's why you might almost want to sub in Kevy.
I think personally it's too early in a series. I think if you have one game...
That's true, it's a best of 5.
I think if you have one game and you get told you're done, I feel like your confidence is just absolutely shattered. It's just like there's no vote of confidence in the rest of your team that you're good enough to do the job. I feel like if the second game is as dominating in that same vein as it was, then I think you start to evaluate, what is the issue here? What can we change?
But would you rather that? Would you rather... Imagine you're Kevy.
Would you rather?
Babip is now 0-2 in the series, and you're told to sub in the do or die game instead of coming in game 2 when it's 0-1 and you can sub back and forth.
Is that not just like every Cinderella story we've had was like, you know...
Kevy would actually love that.
Bengi comes in T1, they win worlds. Do you know what I mean? Like...
Kevy hype over that pressure?
He kind of low-key would be. He'd be like, yeah, all right, I'm ready. I'm going to reverse sweep these guys in best of 5, sub me in, coach. But look, we're getting ahead of ourselves. It's obviously that they want to change it up. Maybe they do have a lot of faith in the fact that it was what champs they picked up for themselves, something that they weren't prepared for, something they didn't know Bliss had capable for themselves, and they're really eager and quick to make those small changes in the draft and still have full faith in what they're able to do team comp-wise.
Yeah, I don't think Babip was like the sole reason that the Chiefs lost this
not.
game. I think Vi as well is a champion that looks very, very bad if you're losing, because you will just go in and die on repeat.
Well, yeah, we talked about the volatility of Vi as a jungler, the need to be able to have commitment for everything. So, again, would like to just pull it back and be like, maybe it is just this champ, this draft diff, and they're willing to chalk it up to that one as well. But LCO, from the fans, it's time, guys. We want to hear from you. We asked you who your role models were. Who are some idols in the pro player scene that you look up to? You can answer us using hashtag LCO. We got one here. Biopanther, because he's tall. Literally,
Biopanther. Jungle Biopanther.
Biopanther.
Wow, that's
physically actually looks up to him.
Is he tall?
Yeah.
I forget. How tall is Bio?
I actually don't think I've ever met Bio in real life.
He's at least 6 foot.
I feel like he's taller than me.
He's at least 6 foot, maybe 6'1".
He's definitely near 6 foot. I don't remember how tall he is.
I've never met him in real life, I don't think.
He's a big dog.
Yep.
He's tall enough to pick up in his arms and carry you to the safety of his top lane.
Yeah, I felt that experience there, Max.
I have. I was a sub for Biopanther, so...
And you knew.
I
You
know.
knew. You learn a lot of lessons from him. We've got another one coming up on our screens. Lavina said, I am always in awe of Raz's dedication and relentless pursuit of his goals. He works so hard to constantly improve and outplay his competition. It's one of the things I love most about him, and I feel so lucky to have watched him grow over the last 5 years.
One of the things she loves most about him, the other two are Daystar and Arceus.
Hey, let's not take away from White Oak's moment here. I think all those things are very true. Why Not is absolutely dedicated to his craft, both in the Rift and on Twitter with the memes.
Well, I was mentioning this on broadcast, but I think that he is one of the most... He's a player who interrogates the game the most, right? He's not, he's not content with the meta. He will always build something new. He'll always pick something new. And this is what makes Bliss and himself such a volatile team. But
it's not just him and the team picking something new. He is willing to defend it to the end of the earth and back. Like, you could say, nah, that sounds like an absolute dog pick, bro. Do not do that. And he will literally have a dissertation for you as to why it will work and every scenario in which it will excel.
I just always remember Lawnmower Vayne. That's always what I'm going to
He did innovate the lawnmower
he says
tech.
that, and everyone's like, what's this build? He's like, that's my build.
Triforce
like,
Kindred,
Most
the
making
new
builds?
one.
Nah, don't believe it. No, that's my build.
Yeah.
True,
Yeah.
true.
I mean, maybe something cooked up for himself in game one. Maybe a little bit of those drafts, a little bit of those itemizations could have been something that Why Not was cooking up himself. Who really knows? Maybe if they win, then we could ask him that. But for now, we are going to go to a break. It's only game one that has been concluded. So after the break, we will come back for game number 2 between Bliss and Chiefs.
as here we go, they think they found Daystar.
And they certainly do feel like they found him. Is he going to go trade? He does! Are you kidding me? Daystar ganks 1v2, and he takes the kill. Bio TP's in, he falls on down, and this situation is an absolute catastrophe, man.
First things first. The battle station. Escape, delete. I hate this setup. This just isn't me. Ugh. Now this is me.
Talk big, but I rebel none. Old school, but in my prime like Amazon. Gold belt on my shoulders like a champion. Still running the game, you started cramping on, hoping that I'm losing a step. This ain't much you can help. Yo, they call me a zombie, cause I do this to death. Can't take nothing from me, man, I'm constantly hungry. At my best where I'm comfy, like a sofa that's lumpy. We don't quit, we don't cry. If we leave, we take it all. Only rise, we never fall. Just emerge to take the call. Call it an emergence. This is me coming in to view the apex. Best stepping over you. Call it an emergence. Freedom got me acting brand new. Molly in my bag like it's long overdue. No resurgence. Never fall back, never quit. Undisturbed. Can I get rewards without the risk? I deserve it.
Everything's on Earball. It's a pentakill. Second, they'll find a second. Chippy is on an absolute tear right now.
It's our upper bracket finals. Game number 2, Bliss up against Chiefs. We're not surprised that these two teams are up here, but I am surprised at the champions picked for game 1, and I am a little bit surprised about the side select for game number 2. Is it enough, Rusty? You think Chiefs got it? No subs. No it's Babbitt. No Kevy.
Where does this question end? Now?
Yeah.
I think the Chiefs. I think Chiefs on blue side are just going to probably adapt with the Jace pick themselves.
Good.
Sorry,
Stu and I made such awkward eye contact.
The funny thing is, like, I give this drink to Nat. She's like, yeah, chuck it to me. I was like, I refuse. I'll give it to you. I shake it up, and she's like, oh, it's gonna go all over me.
I was afraid it's gonna go on my white shirt.
And I'm watching you, be like, real hesitantly drink it. It's okay.
That's not what I was going to say.
Next question.
Yeah.
It's a question for our audience. Who do you have faith in? Where are you going to put your channel points? I hope it's for the Dev fan vote. It could either be for Bliss, it could be for Chiefs. The question I did ask you, and I will ask it more succinctly this time around, is do you have faith in Chiefs keeping Babbitt and picking blue side?
Is this the type of question you're about to ask and then we say champions like
No,
ready before I answer?
promise you.
Okay, I think, first of all, blue side is for Jace. I don't trust her at all. I want to come back to this count. Jace, I think Jace priority is the obvious one if they're going to trade the Tristana and the Kai'Sa ban. The alternative is because the third ban from Bliss was the Tristana, which kind of forces the Kai'Sa ban on red side. Neither of those could occur. So it could actually be a ban phase where both of those are going to be left up and available instead. And so the priority goes way up on the Kai'Sa first pick to deny the Jace Kai'Sa on the other side. Bliss also, with the changes in game number 1, have revealed so much that I have no idea what Chiefs are going to ban here.
Yeah, I was about to say, you talk about leaving through the Kai'Sa Tristana, willing to do that handshake for that, but then how much of game 1 do you take into consideration for your bans? Is it then very reactive and that's what Bliss want?
Great question.
A lot of different questions that we'll have answers for because Champ Select for game 2 is ready.
And it certainly is. Let's see then what happens on a blue side draft here for the Chiefs.
Ooh.
As they themselves are actually going to be the ones to ban away the Kai'Sa as Bliss return with a similar vein. It's almost as if the sides have switched, but the bans have stayed the same.
Yeah, the Kai'Sa ban on blue is really interesting for me, right? Maybe you're not happy taking a potential trade for like a Kai'Sa for a Nico or something, but to me, this champions looks so good in the hands of someone like Raze or like Kiss A, and it's going to be the Jace like Rusty was talking about, right? Very high prio, but that means Daystar's LeBlanc is up and available.
It's going to be a spicy matchup in the mid lane. Every single time Daystar's got his hand on this LeBlanc, it's always one. It just dazzles. It dominates, and it straight up deletes. So this is definitely going to be a matchup to watch, and you're going to be very curious then as to what their jungle counterpart is to try and make that matchup as best possible.
Yeah, absolutely. No surprises that the Xayah is coming out here for the side of Team Bliss, right? Obviously, Lemus is one of his favorite picks and denies the Chiefs the combo of the Xayah Rakan if they were to go that route now. Obviously, the Chiefs opted for a sort of, sorry, Team Bliss rather, on the blue side opted for a very melee-heavy comp after picking that Jace on the 1. But this is a champion we haven't seen too much of, been banned quite a lot in the playoffs so far, but it's going to be the Ivern for Babip. So very playing around his solo lane is focused, right? Off wants to empower that Jace, wants to empower this Renekton that's now picked up for Biopanda in the top lane.
Yeah, look at that though. The fact is they're not actually going to lock in their AD carry anytime soon. They just go for the blind Renekton and say, we don't care what you ban away. We just need a little bit more time before we decide what our bot lane is about to look like. You can have that Xayah. But do you want to lock in your top lane as well now too?
That's a question. You could go for a Jax or a Cassante if you are feeling like you just want to sort of stonewall the lane. But of course it's Bliss, and you know, whatever I say they're going to pick, they're probably going to pick something different. It's going to be the Kindred actually picked up here for the side of Why Not. So already you can see they've got a very strong mid-jungle pairing that's very mobile, right? This is their main focus. It's going to be putting pressure on this Ivern early, making sure that anytime he's going for a camp, he is feeling that Kindred, he is feeling that LeBlanc pressuring him. And now the question for me is, where do you go for your solo lanes? Where do you go for your support, right? Having the 4P could pick up the Rakan, but will now be banned by the Chiefs.
I just think it's terrifying what Bliss have put together in their first 3 because you've got so much mobility, you've got so many ways to immune that damage and sort of dodge out on that, right? Distortion from the LeBlanc, the Featherstorm, the Lamb's Respite, deny a lot of the wombo combo that Chiefs might be trying to put together with an Ivern there to try and buff up the rest of your team. And a Renekton that wants to try and slice and dice his way into a one-shot takedown. But the Ashen Varus have been removed, so no chance for some pseudo-engage from the AD carry position. No chance to try and round your comp out with a little bit of AP damage there too.
And what does Raze go for here, right? That is the question to me. You do want a very high DPS AD carry when you are playing with the Ivern, right? Because you are practically going to have 2 supports to buff you up in these fights. We know that Jinx and Aphelios are still up and available, although haven't seen the highest priority. And for Bliss here, you're expecting some sort of tank in the top lane, something that provides a fair bit of CC to be able to facilitate the Kindred, right? You already look at their comp, you say, okay, they want to play very heavily around this mid lane, they want to be able to skirmish there. So the better we can leave our top lane on this sort of island, the comfier we're feeling about this game.
That is the question, and is it the Cassante, is it the Jax? Those are the 2 most common matchups we've had into this Renekton. It's going to be the Cassante instead that they will opt for.
No way.
Now Neela actually getting hovered here by the side of the Chiefs. Would they decide to lock this one? And it feels like you need the range.
Yeah, I feel like they don't play this. I feel like this is just a hover. You can see Ray sort of smirking in the play cam when he was hovering that one. I think it's more to show respect to Lemus on what he was able to do in that champion last game, but is going to be something a bit more traditional, right? This champion did get nerfed on 13-13, but still certainly a strong champion on the patch. Once you get to those 2-3 items, you're going to be ripping through people. And for the Chiefs, it's kind of their bread and butter, right? Get Raze on the scaling carry, facilitate him through the laning phase, and then get to these dragon fights where he comes online and truly becomes a menace.
And it certainly is. I mean, we always had to remember what happened at DreamHack when he played this. Aphelios gets the pentakill into Bliss as well, right? So it's a champion that he is very at ease with.
Same bot lane as well that did the pentakill.
Absolutely. Nautilus locked in once again, and we were singing his praises, weren't we, on Aladoric, and just how clean he was denying a lot of those Ricard engages. It's going to be a little bit harder to do into a Brom, no less, but certainly if you're on the trigger, you definitely make life very difficult for a Kindred to ever land her ultimate.
Yeah, it definitely can be, but a very heavy disengage comp here for Bliss right now. They have opted for the 5th pick Brom. You have this Xayah paired with that support who are so potent at peeling back, and then you obviously have the Kindred ultimate on top of all of that. So to me, Bliss are really saying that we want to have Daystar being the one to get active on the side lanes, potentially drop into a 1-4. You don't really want a 1-3-1 with the Cassante. He's better off grouping with the team and providing a bit of denial on any engage that's going to come out here. But on the other hand, you've got the Chiefs who have a very active mid-jungle top lane early, right? This Renekton Ivern combo incredibly potent at finding one target and blowing them up. So keep an eye out for Aladoric to move up, to get involved around the Herald, which has seemed to be the big point of contention for these teams.
Well, 100%, that seems to be the big focus right now for the Chiefs. It is that they can be strong enough. They do have enough avenues to try and be explosive in that early game before Bliss can certainly weather the storm of absorbing all that pressure, shoving it right back at them and saying, we've got the cooldowns now, you're overextended, we can punish you. Much like they did in Game 1 as well, to their credit. But it is that big shake-up from Game 1 to 2. Not too much remains the same. And I don't really expect it to stay the same as this best of 5 continues, because I think, much like Rusty mentioned, what are the bans? Well, the bans do stay relatively similar. That is the really one consistent.
I mean, it's a complete 180, right, in terms of the draft style. They've gone from this complete death ball, we'll run at you, we don't really care what you're doing, to, okay, we want you all to come into us, we want to play a very slow, measured game. And as always, when you do have a Kindred, the question is, how is the early game going to go, right? Ivern, obviously a very non-traditional champ in the sense that he has the ability to one-shot a camp, he has the ability to free up a bit more time for himself to move around on the map, potentially meet Why Not instead of being able to farm his camps, right? So if Babbitt plays it right, there is a world where he's able to navigate around the Kindred, deny any invade opportunities that Why Not and this Kindred pick are so famous for.
What it's said, and Max says we load ourselves into the Rift for the second time tonight here with Bliss leading this series currently 1-0. Can Chiefs bring it back? With them electing for the blue side this time, this is their blue side draft. This is their switch up as to how they want to play things out. Let's see if this is enough for them to tie up the series.
It's an interesting cleanse here as well from Raze, right? You look at the CC coming out from Bliss, they don't have, you know, the most. They've got perhaps a Braum stun from the concussive blows, a LeBlanc E that lands, and maybe a Cassante, but opting to say, okay, even if I do get caught out by one of those, I'm going to be playing incredibly safe, not wanting to take any risks, because we saw last game how much pressure was applied to him, how hard it was, and even on something like a Xayah, consistently targeted by the side of Bliss.
He opted for the Flash Ghost in that game and was very much reliant on both the Flash and the ultimate to try and dodge out of that one. But the one time the Sejuani ult did connect, that's when you certainly were wishing Cleanse was available. So as you quite rightly point out, going to be opting for a much more defensive setup here. No doubt be hoping to see that they can find some success very early on with this Ivan Jace or the Ivan Renekton.
And that's going to be the big question, right, is where does Babbitt want to head towards this game, right? You can path towards that Renekton to provide so much setup. Aladoric will get traded on early.
Guardian is going to proc though, which is going to nullify a lot of the damage that Raze tries to do in return. And that's just good positioning, good fog of war denial more than anything from the bot lane of Bliss.
Yeah, Braum level 1 incredibly potent. As soon as that concussive blows land, you feel very happy taking any trade. Both AD carries have actually opted for the Doran's Blade, right? So anticipating a bit of fighting to come out, wanting a bit more of that all-in pressure as supports trading queues once again. And look at Babip, right, Skimmy. He originally started up towards the top side, has now come down to mark the Krugs, and is going to be doing sort of a reverse clear, right? Ivan sort of interesting in the way he moves around the map because he's sort of got to go down once and then come back once that mark actually comes to fruition. So we'll start off with a blue buff here, but we'll end his clear, you have to imagine, towards his bot lane.
Maybe an early indication that the bot lane is going to be the focus right now. You mentioned before where he might look to try and really find his mark on this game. If bot lane continues to be as volatile as it has been already, then it certainly could be the difference maker. Be curious to see where Wynot goes as a response as well. We've certainly seen that you can put a Kindred behind with First Blood. Doesn't really matter as long as the marks have been found, be it a Scuttle Crab, be it a Nemesis kill. You're absolutely fine. But are you expecting this to be a game where we are just fighting all out before level 6, or is this a case of play it patiently, wait for the objectives?
I think both teams have shown they're more than happy to fight whenever the opportunity calls, right? The major thing that we'll be looking towards in the next couple of seconds is when the Scuttle Crab spawns, if that ends up being marked. But Babbitt, you can already see an incredibly fast level 4 here. He will get spotted out on this ward, but the gank could still go.
It is, and that means Aladoric is going to flash into effect to try and start this fight on off. Limus instant cleanse out of that one. The hook connects, and that means they'll find a second target. But Arkia puts the door up and says, well, no damage is going to happen. Wynot was in the area the entire time. The fight's not going to amount to much, but it's given vision and information.
And Babip luckily going to find Wynot there with that W, but Bliss bot lane just mechanically, last game and the start of this game too, playing to perfection, right? That initial cleanse comes out, denies any CC, and Arkia standing in front of Limus, denying any possibility for CC to come out, and they don't even lose HP, Skimmy. That's the main thing, right? They've got the wave crashing, they're able to walk up, and now this is a double crab for Wynot, the Mark II.
Best possible case that you can certainly hope for, and as Babip is going to try and reveal vision once again with the summoning of the brush. But we'll have to watch from afar as that Scuttle will be taken down and that first mark is acquired. Yeah, as simple as that really, isn't it, in the bot lane? Just a denial. As soon as the cleanses burst, Limus is out of the picture, the door goes up for Arkia, and it says, well, you're just wasting your time now.
Summoner spells will be burnt in the cleanse from Limus, but if that's all you're losing there to a player, you're feeling very happy as we now check back in with the top lane. This is a matchup that, you know, K'Sante will lose early. Panther does have a bit of a stacking wave, actually. We've seen Lived dived before by the Chiefs. Topside is bot lane.
Bot lane's where we're at now. Double summoners burnt by Raze. He's got the gravity from afar, but can he actually layer the damage? Both the Eddie carries exceptionally low, but Aladoric is a little bit worse. But we're just out of range there for Raze to try and snipe some damage and tag them up. This is definitely not getting any calmer, any quieter anytime soon.
No, it's definitely not. We'll have to see how that one started, but every single summoner spell now in this bot lane, besides the flash from Limus, has been committed. He's incredibly low, but the wave is in a good spot, right? So the Chiefs will be able to back off, get a base. But already so much action towards this bot lane, putting pressure onto the bot lane of Limus and Arkia. But so far, nothing's actually stuck. No advantages to actually be found. Still a very even early game.
Certainly is. Nothing really in it as we look in the mid lane as well, and you can see that both these players have been trading exceptionally well. They'll find themselves at a very similar position as well. Just starts with a Hex Slash, really, but Arkia gets jumped first.
Yeah, it goes forward, but crucially, Limus doesn't have the cleanse there, right? He's not able to actually cleanse out of the CC from the Nautilus and flash forward. You imagine if he did, they'd both just go on to Raze there, and he would fall down for First Blood. And like you mentioned on the back end of it, Raze a couple pixels away from landing that Q active, which would have secured the First Blood. Not going to be the case, though, and top lane once again. The Bramble Vest rush for the K'Sante. I don't know, see, when K'Sante plays against Renekton, so often you see them rushing Thornmail now to be able to proactively apply that heal cup. But when you're sitting on Bramble Vest, all the Renekton really has to do is just not auto-attack you before using Q, right? And suddenly that item doesn't really have as much value. So I don't know if I'm the biggest proponent of this item being picked up early, but... Oh.
But there's the situation. There's the pause. But I guess leading to your previous point, then a big reason why it is suddenly then getting rushed into a full mail to say that, well, you can't just try and cheese the lane or almost ignore that first item spike that I've hoped to try and make your life a little bit harder as a Renekton, try and swing the balance of the lane and more so in our favor. Are you expecting to see much more in that top lane, or are you really thinking that mid lane now should be the sort of the next setup? Because that's been the quietest, despite them trading fairly aggressively. You can see that the mana pools were fairly depleted. Obviously, the big spotlight has been on bot lane right now, but mid lane, you know, it's just a hair's breadth away from breaking open as well.
Well, that's what's interesting to me, right? Even in game 1, mid lane wasn't anywhere near as much of a focus as I would have thought it'd be, right? There was a couple ganks off the top of my head, but often, you know, the supports are roaming, the supports are getting involved there, but we haven't seen that so far. And I think a lot of the reason that we're going to see a continued focus away from the mid lane is because of how aggressively these bot lanes have been trading, right? We can already see now every single summoner has been committed down towards that bot lane. So if either jungler can get towards there, you've either got a Nautilus or you've got a Braum to set you up, both feeling very comfortable about transitioning that lead into something, finally a kill.
Yeah, but if they're locked in the bot lane, right, if they're looking to try and force those 2v2s, then there's no way that mid lane is looking to say, okay, let's gank and let's sort of link up with our junglers, which has been the credit of both teams. Quite honestly, when those two are on the same page, mid lane suddenly becomes a terrifying place to exist. Ultimately, though, there shouldn't be too long of a pause here, as one of the players has unfortunately disconnected, so we should be back into the action here in Game 2 in just a second. But I suppose the question, looking at this one, right, is how much are you willing to reveal? I mean, I always look at this and say, well, surely you want to do everything you can in the best-of-5 series to just guarantee that ticket. The other half of you says, well, if you're that confident in your ability that you think you are undoubtedly the best 2 teams in the region, you still got the lower bracket, you're thinking, we don't really care what happened there, we can run it back and have another fight again. Obviously, we're staying on 13-13 for the entirety of playoffs, so it's not as if another major shake-up's going to happen. Is that something that plays in your mind? I mean, have you ever sort of had that discussion yourself, having once been a pro player?
Looking at Team Bliss, I honestly think that their sort of bag of tricks goes deep enough that they don't really have to worry about that argument, right? I think they always will have something unexpected to catch you off with, and like you said, right, this is the game that determines you if you go to the PCS. So at the end of the day, if either team ends up there, I think they will view this split as a success. And I think that being said, they are going to pull out whatever stops they deem necessary to be able to get that win. But immediately out of the pause, we can see action towards this bot lane once again. Few lands.
Oh, it certainly does land. That does give safe passage and Valadoric to jump in one more time, lay down some damage, and actually hit the ignite. More so than anything. So slightly baited in there by the snapshot route from Babip. Why not once again just hovering, just seeing if anything's happening?
I mean, look at this. Both junglers are literally just sitting here escorting waves in, right? They're not even doing anything, just sort of staring at their laners, making sure no one goes down. And now the question is mid lane. Kisei is the first to push, and why not doesn't have that level 6?
Shock Blast connects, and as you say, 2-level discrepancy between them makes life a little bit difficult then for Why Not to try and answer back, especially when he's waiting for Daystar to come and back him up. The first dragon hasn't been looked at because these laners have been so focused on just fighting their own fight. And it hasn't been about farming up a Storm as a carry. And I think this almost favors the other much more than the Kindred, right? Because if you're saying, if you're having to babysit me, then how are you carrying?
Yeah, she's not getting any marks on the board whatsoever, right? I do believe the mark is probably still going to be on towards Babip unless he's moved it towards the bot lane, given their constant fighting. But the question now really is around this mid lane priority, right? This is going to really influence where the Kindred wants to look. You can already see the top wave is bouncing. Cassante going to be able to hopefully push that out unless Bio just does a Renekton thing, jumps into the middle of the wave and one-shots it. And with the Herald supporting now, Skimmy, you have to imagine this is where teams, especially with the Kindred who want to get snowballing early, are going to be directing their attention.
Well, with more ultimates starting to come online, only the supports now waiting to try and join that same success. What they decide to actually flip the map state and actually go towards that very first Herald.
Well, look at the bot lane from Chiefs here. Both of them basing. Gives an opportunity for Aladoric, if he wants to potentially walk up to this, but he's not Skimmy. He's actually staying towards the bot lane. I lied. The second that comes out, he does deploy on the map towards his mid lane alongside Kisei. So the Chiefs, you look at that position, he's on the Gromp right now, feeling very good. You know that Renekton can really force Prior whenever he wants to in the Cassante matchup, especially with that Iron Spike whip. So if the Chiefs do want to look towards this Herald, they're certainly capable of doing so.
Might be the next one then for them to consider, but there is vision currently that gives Bliss a fair bit of time to respond to that fact, as both AD carries now will just be playing it out here in the bot lane. Arky a little bit later on the rotation to try and deploy mid and follow the same suit as Aladoric does, mean that they can start things up here first. Why don't I just say then, all right, well, we don't really want to fight just yet. There's not enough item spikes online. Yes, there's a static Shiv, but that is it in the grand context of this game. So let's just trade at one apiece.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely fine taking the trade here, right? You do know that face checking anyone on Chiefs with that Jace Nautilus combo can mean certain death, even if you are a Kindred who has ultimate. So Bliss going to say, okay, we're missing out on the mark, we're missing out on the gold, but scaling advantage, if we can get towards those later dragons, certainly going to be in our favor.
Difficult part now is for Raze because it's going to take a little bit longer. There's obviously a much more safe passage that Aladoric has to take to try and get back to bot lane, so that does mean that he's going to lose out on a few of these minions, at least one plate, if nothing more.
That was a really heads-up turret from Raze as well, actually, the one right above the Krog's wall. I don't know if that was his ward that placed it. I believe it was Aladoric who placed the ward, but places the turret there just in case any potential dive is about to happen, right? Sort of a pseudo-vision tool that he can use to make sure he's safe. And ends up only giving over one plate, right? Whenever you're in a situation where you're training against the Herald, you know, you're typically losing 2 plates in addition to a bunch of waves, so you're feeling quite good about that if you are Raze.
It's a massive win, you're absolutely right. You certainly do see it go the way of 2 plates being lost for a trade of moving that much, or that many more members to the top half of the map, needing that much extra time to rotate and respond to help equalize things again. But this game is definitely following a very similar trajectory as it did in game 1, right? 10 minutes in, nothing in it between these teams, still yet to find a first blood. It's just really biding our time, waiting for that perfect time to strike.
And when is that time, is the real question, right? Neither bot lane, you know, feels very comfortable making a move unless you do have a jungler down towards your side of the map, right? With the Braum and Xayah, one Nautilus hook in at the wrong time could spell certain death, and vice versa. If you're a Braum going forward, you're not feeling too good about things. So the Herald is probably going to be the biggest point for me. Most likely going to be dropped just for gold, right, realistically, whether that is towards a Renekton who's already gotten 1 plate for himself in the top lane and is now sitting on the Gore Drinker, or you do want to move it towards that bot lane, because like we mentioned with the static shift pickup, it now becomes so hard for Kisei to actually move out of his lane, right? He's almost constantly going to be on the receiving end of the minion wave, which makes it really hard to get a 3-4 man dive towards the bot lane.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. If it was hard enough for those two to be separated from the mid lane before, then it's pretty much impossible now. And it certainly does put a lot more emphasis on the rest of your team now catching up to try and find item spikes of their own to become relevant, to then find success individually. So the Duskblade now complete here for Kisei, matching that of Daystar on that static shiv. You saw Gordring had just picked up a second ago there by Biopen for it as well. And Liv not opting to rush the Thornmail this time. He's going to work his way towards that Iceborne Gauntlet, so isn't going to really be too concerned as to whether or not Biopen are going to look to use the mechanics cleverly.
I mean, the thing is, right, is heal cut isn't really hyper valuable this game. You look at the rest of Chief's comp, realistically no one's benefiting that, maybe besides Raze, like 3 items, and engages onto Aladoric.
It's a nice 2-man Glacial Fissure as Aladoric is the focus, but then Raze in a compromised position is forced to flash away. It's the 2-man Graviton, but that's about it. Not in a real position to answer back with any kind of damage of their own, especially in a 3v2. Well, Babbitt now returning to the area. Maybe he can look to try and find a fight himself.
Important thing there, though, is Raze losing his flash. That makes his Aphelios incredibly vulnerable. And yes, it's a Braum, but it's a Braum who can flash Q nonetheless. A Braum who can actually put significant pressure onto the likes of Raze. As the Chiefs are on vision, look how many wards from either team have been placed around this bot lane quadrant. Neither team wanting to go into any potential skirmish unaware of what's going on around them. And it looks like the Chiefs are going to shove this one out. Raze potentially heading back to base for a Mythic here if he does get this reset.
Yeah, feeling somewhat impossible to try and make a play in this bottom half of the map without being spotted. Leslie then does force these mid laners to stay in that 1v1 affair. Really just wait for these wards to time on out. You can see them from Babbitt just before that Herald is going to be expiring. He's going to summon it here in the jungle. He's also going to assist Kisei with the helping hand of Aladoric to shove in this wave to guarantee that Shelly does connect. And with 20 seconds remaining, that they will get some plates.
I mean, without getting a kill, that's realistically the best you can do. Is Kisei gets tagged.
When he does get tagged, he's been stunned down as a result as well. He can flash away at the very last moment. The chains of the LeBlanc just aren't enough. The Ignite goes out, the heal denies it. And then a fight breaks out in the bot lane as Bifem is actually coming with a TP and a flash to try and shut down Limes.
Yeah, Buyers here, the skirmish in mid lane. Why not so close to being able to get the auto attack range for the third proc of that E, which almost certainly would have brought Kisei down. But back to my original point, that's all that the Chiefs can really do with that Herald, right? Is just watch it, get a couple plates, split the gold. As there's a potential play made towards that bot lane, like you mentioned with the TP invested, but Renekton against Xayah, especially a Xayah with Cleanse, who doesn't even have to use it actually, just pops the ultimate and flash and gets out. And Yet again, Skimmy, from what feels like such an explosive matchup on paper, it's 15 minutes in almost, and we haven't gotten a single kill.
Complete difference, right? What did we have before? A 31-minute game with 29 kills in favor of Bliss. This time, not a single kill to be found. But now, do we find ourselves in that position? Because Kisei is going to fall on down. No flash this time. No chance to trade into Arkia, surrounded by 3.
It doesn't matter if he's on Blitzcrank, doesn't matter if he's on Pyke or Braum. He's going to play it the exact same. Arkia recognizes his window, and that's a Kisei who's just TP'd back as well, commits that resource and dies straight away. Going to miss out on the wave, going to potentially give Bliss an opportunity to extend their vision. Luckily, the bot lane is here for Chiefs, though, to answer. And keep in mind, Limus has no ult. He knows Biopanther's on the flank.
They're looking for it right now, but it's another flanking TP. Did send it in the middle of the lane. Liv has come in here. The hook doesn't connect. Babbitt is the focus right now, and Ray's completely isolated. You mentioned before, he's got no flash. He'll burn that claims. He'll turn around with the Moonlight Vigil and try and fight his way into the river they go. But Daystar's hunting. Daystar's looking. Why not killing? And down goes the Philios. Aladora can't peel. He can't protect. He can't answer back with a kill of their own. And just like that, for what was such a quiet game for the first 15, Bliss have got 3.
Both teams try to get proactive, but it's Bliss whose TP with Cassante is simply better. They spot out the flank for Biopanther to start it off, as Hook almost finds Arkia. But it's the Summoner spell disadvantage that's really the key here for the side of the Chiefs, right? Limus, Ray's rather, unable to get away on this Aphelios, is just taken down, and Biopanther in the thick of it. He just previously invested flash to try to kill Limus. As here we go again, right? TP on the turret and TP from Cassante forces Raze to run up in a bit of an unfavorable position, right? Gets caught off by Daystar, and meanwhile, Liv putting so much pressure on this backline that Biopanther's not sure whether to go support his AD carry or deal with this Cassante. And the all-out mode comes through and finds 2 quick kills for the side of Bliss.
Yeah, and that hesitation ultimately cost him in his life, right? Because you can see, do I play towards Raze or do I just stand here? And Liv says, well, I'm going to make that decision quite easy for you. Flash, knock you back, isolate you from the rest of the team, take you down, because we're pretty much certain we're getting Raze anyway. So they get 2. And now they are starting to create a little bit of a lead for themselves. Up by 2,000 gold. Chiefs will answer back by getting the second Dragon in this game. Let's then see where all that gold is. And surprise, surprise, it's Daystar on top with Limus and Why Not. Not too far behind.
189 CS, right? Already cracked the 10 CS per minute mark quite easily as Raze. He's got members around, but Daystar does a lot of damage.
Glacier Fissure nicely sidestepped in the change, just out of range. And he's not going to fall victim to this one. And it's quite good, actually, from Bliss, given that his flash was up in about 5 to 10 seconds. So they tried to really picture perfect these windows.
Yeah, they almost timed it to perfection there. Luckily, Babip and Aladoric are there, and as a LeBlanc, you have to be so careful against either of these champions jumping in. A single CC lands, is that Hook?
Hook is on, cleans his burn, and ultimate too. Limus really feeling the pressure of that one, ripping back the feathers. They take down Aladoric, but he's forced to flash away. In comes Daystar, but the combo's not enough, so he will survive just out of range of the Moonlight Vigil. And would Raze had a lethal? Maybe. Very close to it.
That hook from Aladoric almost looked like a bent space-time, very similar to the hook that he had in the finals against Bliss as well. But again, it's a hook you don't want to take, right? Aladoric on this Nautilus is so squishy once you actually start getting hit by the Kindred, by the Braum passive as well. And it's this DPS from Bliss. It almost seems similar to the tiebreaker game they played in which there was that Kindred who just provides so much DPS on the back end of a fight. You make a single positional mistake and she'll hunt you down. Once again, the flash being taken off of Raze, off of Aladoric, as Biopanther could be looked at. He also has no flash.
He's tried to slice and dice away to safety, but it's just not possible. Flash, once again, as you say, is up very shortly. He's got a tower to try and play towards and protect himself, and the Intofo strike is going to bring him back. That means Braum passive comes into effect, but the Gordry can run away. The turret aggro onto Why Not, but he's just out of range. And look how low they are, but just not enough.
It's just not enough. They do manage to take down Biopanther with blinking health bars at the end of it. But there will be a positive for the Chiefs. They will finally crack this mid lane turret because of the resources committed. And if you're Biopanther, you're not feeling too bad about that one. You were very close. The flash almost coming up as well. But the real worry here for the side of Chiefs is this Kindred right now. 3-0-1. Kraken Slayer completed. But Kisei wants to get revenge for his top laner.
He certainly does, and he says, well, Liv, you can take that tower, but I'll take you down in the process. That will be our one-for-one trade. Makes very light work of him. And this time, the TP will find value. The first one being burnt for his own demise, the second to get his first kill.
Picks up a kill finally on the board here for this self-proclaimed best Jace in the region. But Bliss going to spare no time in getting towards this bot lane, using this Kindred and LeBlanc who, you know, once you have the static shift, we already mentioned how quickly you're able to clear waves, create such a scary pair roaming through the jungle, able to hop these walls with ease. And really, any camp you're trying to look at from the side of Chiefs becomes a real threat.
Certainly it's been fairly difficult for Chiefs to try and get much accomplished in this game. They've been able to sneak in a turret here, an objective there, and a kill, as you just saw, based off a bit of greed, you'd say, more than anything from Liv to try and guarantee that that turret fell on down after taking down the Renekton. But it does still feel very much like it's Bliss in control, and with a very fed jungler, these objectives and these plays certainly do belong to them.
They absolutely do. The play that they're going to go for here is the Herald in mid lane. This turret can do absolutely nothing in the wake of this objective, just going to fall down, but it's Daystar. Look how aggressive he's playing into 3 members, doesn't fear the Renekton whatsoever. Raze is very far up though with
Raze
no
positioning, what is the positioning? It means the Featherstorm comes out, he's literally stun-locked himself. That's not where you want to be, Raze. You've just given Limus a double kill. I don't believe it, and Baron has just spawned. And Bliss have said, is this Christmas? Has it come early? What has this happened?
I mean, what is he doing? Kisei as well now caught the tag up with the stun. He is going to potentially fall down here.
Oh, he's so low, but has he just got out of range? I think he has. He may have just salvaged a really bad situation, but the bot lane of Chiefs is blown up, and that's the freest Baron of your life.
You cannot make that mistake if you're a Raze. Plain and simple, you knew that turret was dead, walks up too far, falls down. Aladoric dies for his sins as well. And Kisei has no TP, Skimmy. Not only is it the 2 kills, it's a 21-minute Baron for Bliss.
Not looking good now for the side of Chiefs, but as for Bliss though, we were just saying literally a second before just how strong they were. And maybe that's all it takes, the pressure, but look at Raze's positioning.
I mean, he feels confident because his team is there, but just doesn't respect the fact that why not an Archeo there whatsoever, right? And then Aladoric's caught up wanting to protect him, falls down as well. It's just a disaster for the side of Chiefs, and they were doing so well at stabilizing the game, keeping it nice and slow paced. But this is a massive tool that Bliss can use to blow open this game right now.
He's going to back into that one as well. Kisso, a little bit of greedy pathing back towards the lane, is then surprised by a blast code engage where Bliss say the play's not over yet. We're still hunting for more, so his flash is gone as well. Very vulnerable carries now on the side of Chiefs.
6 marks for the Kindred.
This Kindred, you said it before, has all the kills, has all the gold, now has all the damage.
And this is just another macro mistake from the Chiefs, right? I mean, they push, they get a top tier 1 with 3 members, but they lose their mid tier 2, they lose their bot tier 2, an overwhelming swing in the favor of Team Bliss. And as I mentioned before with this Kindred, 100% KP, now with the Triforce and Kraken Slayer completed, you can already see he's kind of a bruiser as well with the amount of HP he's got on board. Why not having a great time in this game too?
Certainly is. They find themselves up now by 6,000 gold. Second Dragon acquired, not really working towards an early soul point. That was certainly denied there by a side of Chiefs. But you can see, actually more fed than Daystar, which is a rare sight to be said. But Limus obviously having the game of his life as well. Hook does connect. That's the one that Aladoric's going to go for right there. Kisei on the flank. 2-man knocker from the depth charge. Raze looking to try and find what he can. But look at Bipem on the top half of your screen. He's got in for the flank. He's got in for the TB. He's got in for the kill onto Limus. But the Feather Flash disengage away. And is Limus safe? I think he is. He's managed to make a magic trick happen. Raze has to overcompensate to try and get the kill. But he dies in the process.
That's game.
And Bliss are just going to win.
I mean, that is just a plain and simple mechanical outplay there from the side of Bliss. Multiple fights happening within that one skirmish. It's why not over the wall who finds Mammoth initially, but I want to highlight Limus's play there. The Featherstorm is so good, it times perfectly with the first cast of Renekton E. Doesn't get the recast of that dash, so he has to use the flash, but still can't get on top of Biopanther. And what feels like a seemingly random fight at 23 minutes is going to signal the end of Game 2 for Team Bliss.
That it certainly is. 30 minutes for Game 1, 23 minutes for Game 2, and an absolute shutout. 11 kills to 1. Chiefs now staring down at a match point.
But it was so quiet, Skimmy. It was so quiet for the first 15 minutes. Not a single kill had happened. Then suddenly it's a Baron, suddenly it's a random fight, and Bliss win. This team, when they get ahead, they stay ahead.
And this is when you start to test those emotions. This is when you certainly bring into consideration what needs to change. Is it a player? Is it a style? Is it a side selection? Because these next 10 to 15 minutes where you got the turnaround between this game 2 and 3 are the utmost importance. And I mean, you're looking at this now and thinking, how are we 0-2 down? This is not the way we want it to go.
Yeah, we can discuss what we feel you know, Chiefs might be thinking about in a little bit, because I want to focus on this game number 2. You guys said it multiple times throughout the cast, but not a lot was happening on the map. It just felt like slowly but surely Chiefs just lost control of anything that was on their half of it. And slowly but surely, yeah, Team Bliss just had control of all of it. They were significantly further up, and they were able to take that fight down mid, Rusty.
Yeah, it's funny because this is like the first highlights of the game that you're going to see. That's 14.5 minutes into the game. That is the first thing that actually happened in this game. And I mean, there's a bigger conversation to be had about that for sure, but for what it's worth, like, in this game itself, when push came to shove, Bliss just looked like the more confident team. They looked like the more assertive team. And genuinely, just as like a gut check, and I'm sure it feels the same way for everyone who was watching this as well, Chiefs just weren't there. It just didn't seem like Chiefs showed up to game number 2 at all. Bliss are the ones who were just playing passively. They've got the Kindred Zarya composition. They're pretty happy to get 2-3 items on themselves. You know, LeBlanc wants to passively farm up that static shiv. They were allowed to get every single thing that they wanted, and at this point, you know, they start to break the base. Raze just wants to kill the Herald, and then they start to see blood, right? And Bliss are just a class of a team that if they get even a small hint of an opportunity, they will pounce on it. They will not hesitate. And that difference just seemed night and day between Chiefs and Bliss in game number 2. Chiefs quite simply were not there. Bliss were everywhere.
It almost felt like game 1, there were so many skirmishes. There was a lot of consistent action, and Chiefs go, okay, we need to calm down. We need to be more mindful of what engages we're actually going to want to participate in. And so we saw so many times down in bot lane, just 3v3s where nothing actually happened. No one was willing to go in. Bliss almost knowing that Chiefs weren't willing to engage, but Chiefs wanting to sit there waiting for Bliss to engage and wanting to try and take the advantage of that. What then happens from it is nothing happens down mid, and everything else in the solo lanes for Team Bliss is going significantly better. They're able to capitalize in those 2 lanes.
And here's the thing to me, I think they actually got baited on the side of the Chiefs by this bot lane presence, right? It felt like Babib had to consistently be there, that they weren't actually using their really strong solo laners early on to actually get anything, right? What is the value of picking Renekton if you're just going to make him 1v1 the entire game, right?
Yeah.
Use him to break a turret, use him to drop the Herald, break actually a structure on the map, instead of just hovering around bot lane waiting for something to happen.
And the one time they used the Renekton, he teleported bottom while the rest of the team was making a play in mid, so they didn't even like root together as a team, right? They were completely separate entities. And even for me, like going all the way back to the laning point that I wanted to bring up before, it is a Zarya Braum. So like if they're going to play towards a Zarya Braum, it's very simple for Lemus and Aki just walk away and play the way their comp should be played out. Kindred just there for the counter gank if Chiefs overextended themselves. Really straightforward League of Legends, put simply, from Bliss. They get one flash advantage that they find an opportunity to just get a summoner spell. And that's kind of like the crack in the armor that the Chiefs show in this game. They get a little skirmish in mid lane, just a small advantage. They're like 5 seconds of tempo on Arkia, and they just flash forwards immediately. Like, to me, this is just a sign that Bliss are the better team in this series.
Yeah, it's almost like Chiefs wanted to play towards the solo lanes, but when we saw those highlights, it was a lot of Bliss being able to capitalize on those solo lanes, had a lot of priority for Raze, and unfortunately, you know, it's not down to him that the game went the way it was, but that one fight, that one misstep from him in mid really was the gate opener. Like, the floodgates were just... It was it.
But like you said, Rusty, it just shows that they're not there, right?
Yeah.
Raze is not the type of player who makes those mistakes normally, just trying to randomly hit an eye of the Herald and ends up costing them the game,
The
right?
first time in 7 weeks we've seen that from him.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Exactly, and so whether that's a pressure thing, whether that's okay, we're suddenly down 0-2 in a series, that really raises questions what's going on mentally for the Chiefs.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I'm not really too sure either. We're still waiting on word if there are going to be any sub changes, what the side select is going to be. But when we do look towards this game number 3, something massive is going to have to be shaken up for Chiefs. We've had side change, we've had team comp change as well. What else, Rusty, when it comes to this, are you wanting them to think about? What needs to be present of mind except for just being present in mind?
Kevy present on the Rift.
Okay.
I like to see Kevy present on the Rift. Babib was not present on the Rift in this one, unfortunately. He ended up being, like, again, Ivan, not a high-impact champion, sure, but ended up just being a second support for a lane that wasn't really at their peak either. For me, that is probably the easiest change that the Chiefs can make between games in this series. They just simply have an aggressive jungler ready to make that impact and make that difference. Beyond that, I don't think the Jace is an issue. I don't think the Renekton is an issue. And I think Aphelios Nautilus are strong champions. It just seems to be, like you're highlighting, and like they highlighted in the interviews for weeks now,
It's just the way the Chiefs are attacking the Rift that seems to be at fault. And if the goal was, slow down, just focus on our basics.
You slowed down a little too much.
Yeah.
I do want to say that before you jump in, Max, because I did get word, we're going to have a look at side select, and there is going to be a sub. Kevy is going to be coming in. He's on the side. He's ready to jump in. Chiefs obviously picking up another loss means they get to pick the side for themselves. Kevy coming in. They want to go back to red side.
So what I hope this will change is that the Chiefs can actually start playing their own game instead of actually responding to what Bliss have done, because it feels like these last 2 games, they've been incredibly reactive. They've just been trying to absorb the pressure as opposed to going out and creating their own opportunities. And what Kevy has shown, at least versus Bliss, when he did have that Viego game that they won, was he is willing to make his own plays, right? He's willing to consistently attack a lane, and that's something the Chiefs need so desperately on the brink of elimination.
And mid-priority would be nice. So maybe no more LeBlanc given over to Daystar. I think it's a good idea to not give Daystar his best champions and for Bliss to have the easiest draft of their life just by giving them those free drafts. So I don't think they should see LeBlanc again. And I think Kevy can be the aggressor and make that difference.
Yeah, I felt like Chiefs were under a little bit of mind control there for game number 2 and how far back of a step they took. Game 3 looking to be really different with Kevy there. Going back on red side though, do you want to have a bit of a touch on draft, how the bans could change up outside of just making sure Daystar isn't going to be getting, hopefully, neither LeBlanc nor Jace?
I think it depends what gets revealed first. I think if mid gets revealed first, I wouldn't be too surprised if Kise was actually just respond straight away. I'm imagining if it's a red side draft, they'll probably save it for Aladorok to try and get their bot lane the best chance, because usually the bot lane is getting those kills, and so far it just hasn't been that case. So if it's as easy as saying, wait for 5th pick Rakan, it's time for me to try and absolutely dazzle, then I'm all for it.
I also just Kai'Sa Trist are being picked globally, they're not being banned globally, right? Like, they have more of a pick rate than they do a ban rate in the rest of the top 5 regions in the world. So it's just one of those things for me in this draft that I've been looking at, saying, I'm expecting them to be picked. Raze is such a good Tristana player. They even put Ashe bans towards him in this game to try and really focus him and make him a bit more uncomfortable from some of his best champions. I do think you can just get rid of the LeBlanc, look for the handshake and trade of those champions, and play a more standard draft.
Yeah, go back to what you're comfortable with. What worked as well for you against Mammoth. These guys looked phenomenal in that upper bracket round 1. So really worrying what it is about Bliss that makes them not want to go back to what really worked there for themselves. But there are a lot of players on the Rift here, and maybe one of them is your idols at home. We asked you guys from the fans, who is a pro player that you look up to? It doesn't have to be just in the LCO. Maybe there's just a pro player out there that you idolize.
How about all of them?
All of them. All the players from OS. Okay, I mean, I said there were 10 of them on the Rift. Apparently, all of them that played throughout this whole split. We are the best region? No. Do they all try their absolute best? 100%. Not to mention those who have gone overseas to play for some major orgs.
It's true.
Good answer.
It's true.
Very good answer.
Always punching up above our weight, right? And if you're too good in OS, then eventually you get taken overseas. And maybe you end up coming back over, or coming back down to OS and saying, oh, I'm actually a bit of a celebrity now. I've done my OE. I've lived the high life. Now time to smurf back down under again.
And the coaches too, right?
Yeah.
The Swiper's been over there. We've got Spooks, Choo-Choo's still over there at the moment. Swiffer in LEC, who's currently coaching. I think we're still SK at the moment.
believe so,
all
yeah.
these guys have they've done great things. I'm sure there's a lot to be proud of from them as well.
Yeah, a lot of OS talent going out there internationally, so I get why that answer was put up there. So a big one. We've got another one here. This one's a long one. The homie at Lived, #1 in MVP nominations for 2021. Rock in the top for Kanga 2022, being the only player to play in all 42 out of 42 games amidst a rotating roster. Serious carry threat for Bliss at 2023, not just a tank player. Awesome to see him on a championship contender team.
It's true. He's been on the rise for a very, very long time. So I think, yeah, it's just a phenomenal story of how Bliss was sort of formed in the very first place, right? You've just found the right mix of players, personalities, and skill sets. And suddenly these players that haven't really been in that position before now find themselves in a championship roster. Now they find themselves 2-0 up and 1 game away from making it PCS 2 times in a row now.
Yeah, I was going to say, reading that and after seeing how Lived played in game 1, my goodness, everything that was said, I fully resonate with.
Not just a tank
if
player.
I ever want to be top laner now, I mean, it's still Bio's a heavy contender for me, but Lived lately, he's showing up. He's absolutely looked phenomenal for this series.
He's probably the best coach as well. Of all
Really?
the top laners that I would like to coach me, I feel like Lived had the best vibes.
Okay, I see that.
You have a good time.
From the interviews, I definitely, I feel that. Good vibes, good vibes. You guys can keep on vibing, having a fun time throughout this break because we are going to one when we come back. It's going to be game 3 in this best of 5 between Bliss and Chiefs.
In the depth charge, Race looking to try and find what he can. But look at Bypemp on the top half of your screen. He's gone in for the flank, he's gone in for the TB, he's gone in for the kill onto Limas. But the Feather Flash disengaged away. And is Limas safe? I think he is. He's managed to make a magic trick happen. Race has to overcompensate to try and get the kill. But he dies in the process.
That's game.
And Bliss are just going
First things first. The battle station. Escape, delete. I hate this setup. This just isn't me. Ugh. Now this is me.
Talk big, but I rebel none. Old school, but in my prime like Amazon. Gold belt on my shoulders like a champion. Still running the game, you started cramping on. Hoping that I'm losing a step. This ain't much you can help. Yo, they call me a zombie, cause I do this to death. Can't take nothing from me, man, I'm constantly hungry. At my best where I'm comfy, like a sofa that's lumpy. We don't quit, we don't crawl. If we leave, we take it all. Only rise, we never fall. Just emerge to take the call. Call it an emergence. This is me coming in to view the apex. Best stepping over you. Call it an emergence. Freedom got me acting brand new. Molly in my bag like it's long over distance. So resurgence. Never fall back, never quit. A disturbance. Can I get rewards without the risk? I deserve it. Perfection with the hand of vigorness. You will never see another like this. Call it an emergence. On the board, it's a runaway train, unstoppable. Started from the bottom in the grain. Won't quit, it's like it's wired in my brain. This is something that I never will explain. Right up in a base where I'm supposed to be. Base like a rosary. Stay up on the rise so the skies feel close to me. Cameras that surprise when I realize they ghosted me. Back with a vengeance, no limits, no jokes to me. Hopefully, you can see we too stacked. And when we get pushed, we push back. We keep on building with no limits, so only we can say when we finish. Cause we don't quit, we don't crawl. If we leave, we take it all. Only rise, we never fall. Just emerge to take the call. Call it an emergence. This is me coming in to view the apex. Best stepping over you. Call it an emergence. Freedom got me acting brand new. Molly in my bag like it's long over distance. So resurgence. Never fall back, never quit. A disturbance.
He hooks himself back in. They want it. Kissing's not able. It's a pentakill. Second, he'll find a second. Chippy is on an absolute tear right now.
It's a best Best of 5, it is game number 3. Bliss up against Chiefs. Bliss a 2-up right now. We could be seeing this series become a 3-0, but if Chiefs want to hope at potentially taking this first PCS slot, if they need to bite back, what exactly is going to be on your Chiefs vs Bliss wish list over there, Rusty?
Kevy's on my bingo card, so
Well,
we
you
can
can
cross
stamp
that
one
one
off.
off. Yeah, we're happy with that one. The second thing is probably get rid of LeBlanc in pick
Yeah.
ban, so I'm not sure
Don't
we can
give Dace all
stamp
that.
that one just yet, but that's a pretty important one, I feel like, because that makes things way too easy for Bliss. The third one is I would like way more proactivity. I think that they are a team that thrive on proactive plays. They like to be the ones that enforce those plays. Alidoric is just built into him. He wants to be that type of champion or type of player. We didn't get enough of that in that last game for me to really be happy for the Chiefs to say they're at their best. And I think integrating that with Kevy coming back in should be their recipe.
They're like in a little cage right now, and Alan Dory's like, let me breathe, let me make plays, let me engage. He's just absolutely begging for it. I don't know why I did that. Don't look at me like that, Skimmy.
I'm
I
vibing.
I look at
I
you,
love
and I
you.
just like, it's like osmosis.
Just keep going. Just keep doing you.
Thank you. I will keep doing
He
me.
looks so innocent like that,
I
doesn't
know,
he?
he's just like, I'm just in my beanie and my little sweatshirt. Don't worry about me. Hey, Max, while you're over there, do you want to show the fans where they can have their Dan vote? That's right, up
What
there.
did you just
Huh?
Dan fan
Do you want
vote.
to show the vans?
show the vans where they
Van
can Dan
vote,
vote?
Run up here,
van vote.
Vans. Sorry for your vote.
Sorry. Their fan
In me mum's
vote.
car.
In me mum's van.
Brum brum. We're going to scoot on over and drive into Champ Select. It's ready for us.
Right, well, we're going to compose ourselves, much like we hope that the Chiefs can compose themselves as well. They've opted for a Game 3 draft on red side, having gone for blue side last game. Let's see if much changes this time, Max, because for Bliss, they're going to stick with the Bliss. Well, that would make sense. They're going to stick with the Rel, stick with the Nico, and stick with that Tristana too.
Thank God there's no Blitzcrank ban yet, right? The only thing that you'd expect the Chiefs to ban is the Kai'Sa that's going to come out now. So, what is the first pick, right? This is the first game sort of we've seen this series where, you know, the Jace hasn't been available for that first pick. The LeBlanc obviously picked up last time, but it's going to be the Rumble here for Team Bliss. Now, this champion incredibly strong, particularly in the top lane on this patch, right? Beats a lot of the meta top laners. You can run the Ignite for a bit of extra solo kill potential, and we've seen from players like Dongy that it can also be flexed towards that mid lane, sort of act as a prio bot to facilitate the rest of your team
Exactly that, and that was the question we asked at the top of the show, right? Is this a double flex pick? Is this a champion that has been banned away from them already in the playoffs? How much should this really be feared, and how much Chiefs are aware of this, right? Having banned it away already so far in this series. So let's see what their response is to this. As you can see, Kevy joins the roster for this game. Does he change things up? Does he play a carry as he has done all split, or does he go and say, I'll play a bit of a tank today?
He's smiling because he's like, I got something just to play Sejuani in my first game, but it makes a lot of sense, right? Renekton Sejuani was previously denied in this series because of how potent of a 2v2 it is, right? You never want to face that in the top lane, but speaking of potent 2v2, Zyra Khan, you know, we've seen these on either side of the Rift, but never together, at least this series. Very strong 2v2 combo if you're able to make it work towards that bot lane.
And that's another champion that was banned away in this series was the Varus. They certainly look to try and target Razor's champion pool, make his life a little bit more difficult. He's going to actually get his hands on this one, going to lock that one in. From what we've seen, there's obviously a whole host of different builds out there at the moment, right? You've got the on-hit Varus, you've got the lethality Varus, as well as the AP Varus with that static shift still in effect. We're curious to see which variant they'll get. Obviously, we can get a little bit more of an understanding based on what Bliss build and just sort of what they need. Do they need more magic? Do they need more damage?
And you do wonder where this is going, right? You presume it's going towards Raze, but obviously Varus mid has been a thing that's piloted before. Typically suffers a lot into matchups where perhaps the jungler's mobile, perhaps the mid lane is able to get on top of you with a bit of CC as well, but to sort of avoid that mobility threat, they've taken away the Kindred, right? This with Why Not, it fits Bliss's style perfectly, right? It's an aggressive champion, high mobility, able to get things done early, but also kind of happy to take a bit of a backseat and say, all right, I'll wait till a skirmish happens and then really be the benefactor, which was definitely the case last game.
Yeah, the Kindred obviously far too strong. If it gets really ahead, then the Lamb's Respite actually never really needs to be used because there's never really a threat being posed towards you, right? It's always that insurance policy, but the comp absorbed the pressure without even being fully utilized, which is obviously such a scary prospect. The Akali being denied away there from, you know, the side of Kisei. Obviously, we know how phenomenal he is on that champion, so they're going to make sure that there's no surprise factor that Bliss have to really try and account for.
I think it makes a lot of sense, right, when you do have Kisei on Akali, right? It just throws such a spanner into the works, and especially pairing with that Sejuani, right? You don't want another melee champion there in the mix.
Yeah.
But already you can see a bit of draft variation compared to what we've seen in the first two games, right? The Rumble coming out 1P, the Zayan, Rakan 2. Bliss opting a very heavy team fight comp with what they've got so far.
That is certainly hard. I think every single game we've seen such big adaptations. I mean, we're quite glad that the Blitzcrank isn't being banned away anymore, but I think the interesting thing to Rusty's point was the double downing on the fact that, yeah, we are giving away the sort of like Tristana Kaiser trade. Chiefs say, no. We'll just ban away everything. We'll just completely blanket ban all of these champions. It's just not going to be up and available. We are going to really test those champion pools, and we are going to see what is up and available instead.
Yeah, so we were having a bit of a discussion in the back. Rusty, he put me on the spot and he was like, predict the whole rest of the draft. And I think my brain went blank and I couldn't think of a single champion. I was like, I don't know. I felt like, you know, like when you're doing your maths homework, like on the kitchen table and your dad's like hovering and he's trying to help you, but it's just sort of making it worse. That's exactly what I had. And I was like, I don't know what 2 + 2 means anymore.
But is that why we have a lobby remake then? Because you've been so stumped by Rusty as to what the rest of the draft is, they've actually given you extra time to think.
They have. We were talking about what they needed. I was putting out there maybe an Ari. Was just kind of thrown out there for me. Rusty didn't reply because then we just came straight out.
Haven't replied yet.
No.
Left on
Ari
scene.
for who?
Chiefs.
Chiefs. No?
Chiefs.
Yes.
Yeah, so Jace LeBlanc gone, Tristana not going to be available. They don't know the mid matchup, but like just musing Kisei's next champion.
Do also want to remind everyone, or not remind everyone, but tell everyone that the reason why we do have a lobby remake going on is just a player disconnected. So pretty simple, easy fix is just to remake our lobby. That's why you're seeing us on your screens and not the rest of the draft. While we're trying to speculate as to what could still be picked up.
Casters start their game.
I'm pressing the button.
It's not
really
working.
got mashed there.
It's broken.
Through the headset, could hear that one. So tell you what, we're starting soon.
I'm telling you, I was absolutely spamming that button. But yes, did you guys want to expand more on this draft? If you're liking the direction it's taking for Chiefs, and with Kevy subbing in, you are looking towards, okay, this is the realm in which we get some proactivity.
Yes and then no, because I think very quickly we isolated the fact that, okay, Kevy's here. What's he going to play? Wait, I've been subbed into play Sejuani. Why am I here? I was joking to you guys before. I'd love to see him on like the Lilia or something of the AP variant. Might be a lot more explosive. You know, if Bliss were to play a very melee-centric comp like they showcased in game number 1, obviously Lilia is perfect into that. If not, then obviously the Viega, a champion that he's expected on multiple occasions to be denied away from him. I guess maybe a little bit too predictable is my takeaway. Yeah,
look, I don't mind it because it at least gives him a very clear way to play. Right here, you have a very strong level 6 spike with the Varus. You've got a very strong top lane 2v2 with the Renekton if you want to fight for Heralds. My hope is that with the way that they ran out the rest of their draft, potentially get a strong mid laner. If you can look at a melee like a Sylas, potentially you could pick up as well. It kind of, it's hard versus a Rumble. Like the matchup is pretty hard if you move that towards mid lane, but I think Kisei is one of those players who's willing to sort of slam it no matter what. You have that, then you have a very strong top side you can play off.
We also don't really know like who plays Rumble mid besides Dongi. Because right now we've seen it pick ban for a lot of other teams, but it's only been top lane when we've seen it, bar the Dongi player who just picks it all the time in mid. No one else does on that team. So if it's flexible, then yeah, absolutely, that could be a danger. But like you're saying, a melee mid laner, a much more brawl-heavy comp from the Chiefs, and also a lot more opportunities to gank that top lane, right? Get Bio Panther involved in the game because he's also a clutch player. Like, Kisei, Bio, clutch players. And we just have that former order top side come back together when it matters most and just find those kills.
Yeah, it feels like Bio, when you think about it stereotypically, he's fine to be left on this island alone. He's normally doing really well. And I'm not saying per se that he's doing poorly in this series, but it would be nice if they're able to bring it together a lot earlier for themselves, if they're able to get him, like you just said, involved a lot earlier because he can clutch up and do certain things. The Xayah Rakan getting let through as well, though, the double for them. Are you guys surprised by it? I think surprised not really the right word, but what entices a team to be okay to let that one through?
It seemed inevitable though, didn't it, in a way, because like Xayah's been traded both teams, Rakan's being looked at there by Arkia on repeat, Aladoric's like saying, you can have that champion and tonight from me, I'm just going to try and counter it because I know it inside out. I feel like this is now when you get really curious, okay, what are they cooking up to try and shut this one down? Yeah.
Xayah's usually a red side 1-2. I think that might be a part of why it is picked in their first two, is because the blue side being able to 2-3 into bans is a bit strong. So I think that's maybe like an intentional choice here from the Chiefs. The Renekton first pick is a bit odd, but if that's the idea is their comp's going to go forcibly into that direction, then yeah, I think they just accept the L of the Xayah Rakan given, but then they just win top lane.
All right, accept the L, maybe win top lane, maybe have something to deal with it later on in your draft. We're going to see because Champ Select is back up. Lobby is ready for us to jump into.
Well, let's continue where we left off then here, Max. Let's see really what changes up as to how this draft completes itself. We were looking at a Akali and Kindred ban just before. Wukong now going to be denied away by the side of Chiefs. Make sure that Bliss do not have the red carpet. You're stuck. You cannot move. But then it's the Blitzcrank plan by Blissable people.
Yeah, I mean, respect from Arkia, right? Not giving Aladoric the opportunity to throw a spanner into the works. Blitzcrank, obviously one of the champions who's really great against Xayah for the fact that you throw a hook, if it's not ulted, if it lands, the Xayah is dead, right? It's always a guessing game as to whether you actually want to use that spell. But it's Aladoric hovering almost every single support in the book before finally settling on what is going to look like the Leona. So great matchup into Rakan, and also one of those champions that can actually throw the ultimate from long range, trade it with the Xayah, and you're very happy doing that off cooldown.
And I would say that Leona Varus have one of the scariest level 2, level 3s, right? There's just so much damage. So if we are going to run it back like we saw in game 1, where these two were trading so aggressively very early on, then you would favor Chiefs. If they can find the right angle, then it's going to be very, very scary for the Xayah Rakan to try and stabilize. But to their credit, obviously Limes did manage to find a way in the mid game to bring it back. But let's talk about what they've got now. And Azir's being locked in, and a Nocturne's been hovered. And that's a champion also that's been denied away on a few occasions. It's been seen more and more around the world, but it definitely is just on the fringes.
Well, Nocturne's a great champion when you have other forms of long-range engage, like the Rumble Ultimate, like the Rakan ult. It becomes almost impossible for whoever's piloting this Varus to actually make their way safely through fights, right? You're constantly getting jumped on, and if not, you're having to worry about all these ultimates coming from directions you're not even expecting. So, definitely a great pickup that will synergize well here, but the 5th pick for the Chiefs, it's in Kisei's hands. He said it himself. He's that player you want in Game 5. This looks a bit more realistic given the rest of their comp. And it is going to be that lock-in of the Yone there. So triple melee topside, very skirmish heavy, very CC heavy comp for the Chiefs.
That it certainly is. The casting gave me flashbacks to how it all started many years ago, right? And you're thinking, okay, Kisei, you've announced yourself as a new face in the league, a young prodigy, keen to show up, keen to get kills, and keen to be good. But another Yone comes out. We saw it in the top lane the other day from Tomasino. We're going to see it in the mid lane here today. It does almost feel like we're going back to when you were on his team in order and you're back in career again.
Yeah, well, I love this composition from the Chiefs. You look at what they've drafted in Game 1 and Game 2. Here, there is a very clear trigger pull on almost every single champion, right? They have multiple ways to actually get onto the enemy to force fights. And looking at the top side, for me, it's so in favor of the Chiefs early game, right? This Rumble Nocturne Azir going to be doing nothing compared to that triple melee topside of the Chiefs pre, 1-2 items. So really a point of strength that the Chiefs can use to exploit, get heralds early, get plates, and hopefully start to bring this series back.
Well, let's see if they can do that then, Max, because that's what they're absolutely hoping for. They've drafted themselves a ton of AD, and maybe we do finally get that chance to see what an AP Varus could look like. That could be the argument made here for Raze. We'll get to see exactly what the rune setup is once we load ourselves into the Rift. The Nocturne comes out, the Rumble is let through. The long-range engage from Bliss is absolutely terrifying. But if Chiefs can keep it together, if they can navigate, if they don't get exploded upon by that very first ultimate at 6, hey, anyone's game.
It's almost a game where Raze sort of has to resign himself to the fact that he's going to die. Right, and I think that's what he's
psyching himself up.
That's what he knows. He knows I'm going to die in basically every single fight. Unless you're monstrously ahead, right, the amount of people that are going to be jumping on you basically means you're going to be going down regardless. The hope is, though, that with this Yone, with this Renekton, in the extended fights, we'll be able to find the value, right? And speaking to your earlier point about the builds, I would anticipate it is the AP, but looking at his build now, I mean, he's got the fleet footwork, he's got the longsword start. So anything's really possible.
Yeah, it is possible. I think we've only really seen the Hellblades Comet Trail, as well as the Lethal Tempo. This would make you think it's a static Shiv.
He broke the no-BM rule. He auto-attacked him. It was an accident, but those things are sort of unforgivable.
Profusely apologizing in all chat right now. I'm sorry. Whilst the observers... Oh,
look at this. Look how friendly we are here in the LCO.
Supports won't break that honor of code, will they?
No.
They'll do a few laps, they'll walk away. We did see the other day, actually, from both Chan and RP.
Yeah, yep.
Old teammates saying hello to each other on the Rift again.
Look at this, you can hear the all chat going as well. It's my
You
favorite
certainly
part
can.
about there. He's like, you just know that there's something being typed. But as we take a look at the summoner spells, particularly towards the top lane, the TP for Lived here instead of the Ignite, right? Ignite, typically what you see on Rumble, just because this champion can be so lane dominant, but I think Lived says that because this top lane is going to be a lot about, sort of surviving against this Renekton Sejuani, he wants that TP in the situation that he is dope, the situation that he does have to get back to lane. It's not going to be the end of the world. Yeah,
certainly saw that if you don't have that TP available, you can be punished from a macro sense. Or if you're not even that comfortable in utilizing, right, your team doesn't work around not having that ability to suddenly snap decision make a fight in your favor. I think what I'm curious about most of all is the fact of the Sejuani pick, and I want to say in a way it almost stylistically functions similar to the Ivan. You'd love to see it work its way towards this Renekton or towards this Yone and get online early, right? Rather than just sit down bot lane and hope.
Yeah, well, definitely sitting down bot lane and hoping was the strategy last game. Is interestingly that Arki actually went for a Q start on this Rakan here instead of the W, so a bit less fighting. And speaking of fighting, mid lane, very low and only 2 minutes in.
Certainly is. Just sitting on a Doran shield there, anticipating all of that harass. Is going to possibly regen himself back up. But this really is the story to be untold between these two titans of the mid lane, vying for the title of the best mid laner in the league. The stats have certainly been painting that narrative for the last 7 weeks. But they start having the upper hand right now. Let's see where Kevy decides to go with this one. He's level 3 so far. Red buff acquired. As they both cross and path towards the same side of the map.
It's almost deja vu here in the fact that the Team Bliss bot lane have the push on blue side. They push in, get the vision onto the Chiefs blue buff once again, and this really limits what Kevy can actually do, right? You mentioned it earlier, Skimmy. He wants to be playing around his melee champions, he wants to be playing around these solo laners, but there's not going to really be an opportunity, right? He's towards the bot side, he's spotted out. Maybe perhaps on a wave bounce, Lived could be looked at, but even then that's very far in the future. The Chiefs bot lane going to want to hold this wave for as long as they can though, right? As long as it's here, there's a bit of hope that Team Bliss will feel a bit of pressure. They'll feel a bit scared to walk up and Kevy can potentially do something. That being said though, why not here on his Krug camp as well? Always ready for the counter game.
Yeah, it certainly seems a little bit too easy for them, right? With that great ward planted to know exactly where Kevy is. They can certainly respond to it in the area and say, well, he's just completed it now, so I can certainly look to try and path towards bot side and prevent any first blood going against us. He saw a nice ward by Biopaper top side, anticipating the respawn and the replay for why not going towards that side, but right now, I don't think that's even a consideration because the Renekton is just bullied out a lane.
And this is what we've seen time and time again from Rumble, not only domestically, but also on an international stage as well, is that Rumble just wins lanes, right? Plain and simple, even against a champion like Renekton, who is renowned for being good in lane, just so strong at getting that push, at getting that harass down with the Arcane Comet here is, why not going to be walking mid? Not really going to do too much besides finding Kisei. Keep in mind Aladoric's position, right, does have that first move out of that bot lane, so any skirmish that were to arise, the support would be available there for the Chiefs first.
Yeah, just making it a little bit difficult there for Kisei to try and crash that wave and be a bit of a menace and lay down some vision as well to keep tabs exactly as to where Kevy could be at any given moment. But, I mean, look at the push potential of this Rumble, right? As you say, we saw it from Tien all day long where he just shoved in a wave, went for a roam, went for a rotate, made it very difficult then for the opposite jungle then to actually get anything done.
I mean, already TP's been used, right, from Bio. He's forced to go back already off the base of that chunk. Is fighting bot lane.
Lots of fighting actually as Ray's the focus right now, just at a range of those feathers, but a flash away at the very last second. Arki is going to run out of damage as he drops the arrows in retaliation, but Aladoric is bullied out into the river. Now he's separated from Ray's, and there's 2 flashes available for the bot lane Bliss. So Aladoric is forced to respond, and now their kill pressure is gone.
Well, there you go. Once again, trade in the bot lane goes overwhelmingly in favor of Bliss, right? They don't have to use a single summoner besides the heal, and then that's both flashes. And not only is it both flashes, it's a Varus without flash. And look at this Nocturne, almost ticking to that level 6 mark, right? Sitting at level 5 now. The second that comes through, Chiefs are going to have to commit so much just to keep this Varus alive.
Yeah, it's going to be so difficult. We always talk about the first paranoia from the Nocturne being that important. And if they can actually catch out Raze in a compromised position, if they can get their very first kill, then suddenly you're feeling pretty content with the way this game is playing on out. Certainly momentum in your favor. Emperor's Divide goes up, but a beautiful Fate sealed. Kisei buffers that one, so you're not catching me today.
Very nice buffer there from Kisei. Make sure he stays alive in this mid lane. Nocturne, not the greatest champion at ganking 3-6, and a trade of ultimates you feel, you know, you're quite happy with if you are the side of Bliss, right? There's not really that pressure there from the Jonas. Biopanther forced to pop his own ultimate.
Yeah, double ultimate to burn in the top lane there as he just sidesteps the equalizer. Burns the ultimate of his own just to basically stay healthy more than anything, right? Wasn't really anticipating much more than that. Certainly wasn't looking to try and fight. But now the first dragon has been started up by the Chiefs. And why not here?
Kisei's here too, though. He is very far ahead of Daystar in terms of his relative position. But Bliss don't want to give this. They know the bot lane of Chiefs have no flash.
They've stolen it. They've absolutely Well, no, I tell a lie. Kevy's picked it up for a second. I thought it was
There was
Sejuani
too
there.
much on the screen. Here we go
I bet it
again.
myself. Grand
What is
entrance
Why Not
goes in.
doing?
3-man knockup. What are we doing, Akio? What are we looking for here? Kevy not only getting the first dragon, gets the first blood. And then Kevy is very, very low in the process. But they're able to walk away.
Why Not absolutely pulled a blabber there? He wanted that Scuttle Crab more than anything in the world. But once again, it's a case of Bliss just not accepting when a dragon's not theirs, right? They walk up. The dragon's already dead. Why Not says he wants to get the Scuttle Crab and just falls down needlessly off the back end of it.
Second game in a row as well, but the their fan vote is overwhelmingly in favor of Team Bliss. Last game was 80% in their favor as well, but hold that for because look at that flash pounce. Get one, find a second, and if you don't have a flash, you just simply die.
They are just so in sync, this bot lane. You see how quickly both of those flashes, Lemus as well, flashing instantly on towards Raze, and like you mentioned, Skimmy, it's impossible for Raze to actually play this lane. The wave crash as well. This is a big swing for the side of Bliss. Kill in the hands of Lemus, who's already 15 CS up.
What a statement this would be if they were to come out swinging and get a perfect 3-0 into their rival at this stage of the season to say, we've made enough changes, we're strong enough. If we can 3-0 you, then now do we start to add levels where we're saying it was Bliss and Chiefs before, now Bliss say, hey, there's another actual massive gap between us.
Certainly looking to be that way as we see Herald spawning right now. The Team Bliss bot lane have deployed towards mid lane, so a potential 5 members in the area were Team Bliss to look at this. And I think that is what they will be going for here. Lemus walking to the top river, linking up with Why Not, looking to start off this Herald.
Here we can see that it is happening. Doesn't know the direct amount of health. It's going to get revealed for him now. You can see that Biped for Bully the way there by the Rumble. You can see that Kissei and Kevy poke their head into the river and feel like, yeah, that's not really the fight we're looking for. And Raze once again, he's gone for a bit of side laning. He's gone for a 1v1. He falls down, kill number 2, but the lights go out and Kissei goes in, snapshots back and denies the fight that the Nocturne was hoping for. And that was all just to try and contest the Herald. The Herald is already gone. But now across the goal, we go to try and find Lived, and the pressure is enough that he's forced to flash away.
Yeah, he has to flash, but overall, a flash expended for a Herald and for a solid kill bot lane. You are feeling very good if you're other side of Bliss. We'll have to see how that one happened. I think Raze might have just gotten caught off guard, right? Seeing that Bliss did go for that Herald, assuming that Daystar must have been up there as well and just getting caught off. But this is Azir already finding value, and Raze, who, you know, made uncharacteristic mistakes in game 1, is, I'll hold my thought.
We go into the Flade Solar Slayer on their head. 2-man knockup to try and deny them for the meantime, and Kissei's already out of that fight. They're pushing him back. Are they Team Bliss's? Why not? Staunches Kevy back and forces them to not find much more than that. And you think it is looking so good for just a second, but not enough to matter.
And it's really Why Not to me that's been the difference maker in a lot of these fights, just denying the potential for anything to come through further, right? First part of that Herald pops the paranoia a bit defensively so his teammates can get out in there, sort of bodyguarding them so the Sejuani can't go forward with those other melees. But look at top lane, Biped that wants a fight.
He's looking for the all-in, and Liv's looking to try and play on that equalizer. He draws a line in the sand and says, you shall not pass. The Biped has to take the long way around. Buys time for Liv to get those cooldowns back, and he's just toying with him now, isn't he?
Liv's very happy to just walk out of that one there. Not feeling too bad here, but Lemus doesn't have ult, doesn't have any sums either.
Can they find it? Will Kevy hard force this one? He just decides to walk in, show his face. He has no ultimate. That's the most important part. So it wasn't as simple as just chucking the Glacial Prison out there. And luckily enough, Lemus can walk away. This is the 1v1 where Raze loses it. And I think this is such a heads-up play from Daystar because every single time we have seen the opposition go towards the Herald, it's always been Raze picking up 2 plates for free. This time, Daystar says, that's too predictable.
But again, it sort of feels like Raze isn't really just thinking about what's actually happening, right? He's sort of assuming, and in a game like this, there's no room for assumptions. There's no room to make these silly mistakes. A solo kill onto someone like Daystar on this Azir, nonetheless, gets him that much closer to his items. That's much closer to taking over the game. Static Shiv will be completed there for Raze, so potentially still building towards that more AP side of things. You would imagine with how much, you know, AD damage coming through from the rest of his solo lanes, it would make armor a bit too efficient.
Yeah, you'd be looking at the Riftmaker, the Nashor's Tooth, all that uptime just to land the ultimate, get the Blight stacks up and try and absolutely one-shot somebody out of the fight very easily. But needs time, and time right now is certainly against them.
Look at Aladoric.
Aladoric's going to start things up, but Akia nicely prevents him from finding the engage he was hoping to go for. And as we start to group around the mid lane, Dragon up in a second.
There's no TP on either top laner, right? Lived opting to stay towards his top lane, whereas Biopanther is sitting with his team grouped on mid. So if a fight were to break out, it would be a 5v4. That being said, given Bliss's history, they don't give Dragons very easily.
Let's see if they look to try and put a fight up for this one because the Drake has reset. It's going to be re-aggroed for just a second here. They look to try and drag it outside of that pit with Daystar threatening from across the wall. He's blast coded himself into the mix of things. Solar Flare goes out, completely missed the target after. Arkia in the darkness looks to charm them up whilst they cannot see anything. The equalizer goes down, and if Lift is here, you're just not winning because he's going to shred you all through. Kevy gets the Dragon, that's 2. He'll take down Lift in the process, and Chiefs are actually going to win. The Herald's been summoned in the bot lane. They're going to continue the fight with a 2-man knockup, but Arkia wants to run. Daystar shoves them back, and the fight will come to a close.
By some miracle, the Chiefs actually managed to walk away with the Dragon and the fight, right? The paranoia initially comes out, but Lived isn't there right as it starts. He's not able to layer that equalizer perfectly, and Lemus has to play very defensively throughout that whole stretch. So the Chiefs, it looked dicey at the start there, but managing to get this Dragon, managing to take a slight goal lead and objective lead is just what they need in this game 3.
Let's run the back of the replay once again. It all starts with Daystar blasting his way into the mix of things as the lights go out.
Yeah, absolutely, but he isn't able to crucially get actually anything done here because Renekton's pressuring him. Biopanther walking at him forces him to actually get out of the pit, and meanwhile the bot lane of Team Bliss is getting forced back by this Yone. This Yone putting so much pressure that the equalizer coming through doesn't actually matter, right? They're able to turn onto Liv, they're able to take him down 1v3, and then the Dragon goes into the back pockets as well.
And that's the frustration for Liv, right? He is so strong, he drops a beautiful ultimate, but he's so separated from the rest of his team. They're looking to try and peel down back to bot lane. He's like, guys, don't isolate me like this. You can't just leave me hanging like that. So Chiefs afforded the rare opportunity to create their own luck, to get themselves a kill, to try and get themselves back into this one. Now hunting for a second, but as they go for Lemus, Arky is roaming around. He's just taking a turret shot for free, almost as a welcome reminder that you won't be fighting us here today.
Arky's a brave man. There was a Varus ulti that could have come out there, right? Leona won as well. A lot of CC that could have pinned him under that turret and made him look quite foolish, but does manage to escape. And as we take a look at the inventories here for the side of the Chiefs, Radiant Virtue completed here for Kevy on this Sejuani. Going to be very tanky pig. Going to be helping his teammates as well. And Static Shiv means that, yes, you know, the bot lane did go a bit awry for the Chiefs at the start of the game, but certainly feeling a bit more equal now.
Soon as that way, obviously, to cheat tempos we've discussed multiple times throughout this series to get yourself back into the fold of things and make sure that you do remain relevant. As you can see, he's not too far behind Lemus despite being down 0-2. Only 100 gold between them, but it is still the Daystar show, firing up an absolute treating with that isolated kill he did find on towards Raze. Sits at the top of the table.
Leandra is completed here for this Azir. Has gone the Conqueror build, opting for a bit more of that sustained damage. Those longer fights against the very tanky members who you are going to be hitting, right? Going to be finding a lot of value from both the Mythic and the Rune combined. As Liv's going to feel free to break this turret here towards the bot lane. I think he's going the Demonic Embrace first, potentially as well. A great tank killer item against the Renekton and Sejuani. And still no one's answering bot skimmy. There's 5 members grouped up here for the Chiefs.
Yeah, Kiste being persistent in his attempt topside as well. So just solo lanes being unattended by their respective opponents. As everybody else just groups up in mid lane, looking to say, well, if you don't, I won't. Who's going to make that first move? Who is going to concede control? As finally it is to be matched there by Biopanther. Careful's now completed by Kiste. And it will certainly make life easy for him to try and snipe out a key target he's after as he dashes on in with the Soul Unbound. But that second Herald being looked at now, and that is the key difference. Heralds have been traded for Drakes by Chiefs.
There's TPs up though, Skimmy. There's a bunch of wards that Biopanther could look at if he did want to join this fight. The way the Chiefs are posturing, you'd have to imagine here comes the TP.
We're looking at Aldoric right now. The ultimate goes down. They don't actually hit the Zenith Blade, but look at the amount of damage that comes afterwards onto Daystar's head, but he still gets out alive. 2 kills found. It's all going away at Bliss. And the burn on Kevy's head toasts him for a double. They'll look for another. They'll take down Why Not in the process. It really a consolation prize. As Lived has got himself a triple, Bio full HP, but nothing to be found, and Daystar the MVP.
Chiefs go for the Emperor, but they are reminded that they are the peasants in this game. The 3-man Emperor is divided. Seems like Daystar's going to get blown up, taken down with all the CC laid on top of him, but he manages to survive, manages to pop that ultimate, and ultimately that is the thing that wins Bliss this fight so handedly. I mean, look at that damage.
So many ultimates thrown towards him. The lights go out, they lose sight of him. He manages to Shurima shuffle away, and after that, everybody over-compromised. Very easy then for a Rumble to run you down.
That's exactly right. If you're a Varus and your whole front line has gone forward, you've got no one to protect you, you are an incredibly immobile champion. And he's not fed either, right? He can't sit and deliver. He is just going to fall victim to whichever solo laner runs at him. And once again, it's a fight that Bliss started. It's a fight that Chiefs want to take. Doesn't go in their favor. Now a Herald, now a 3,000 gold lead. As we have another disconnect from Aladoric.
Hasn't been the day for Aladoric's internet, has it? It's feeling the pressure just as much as his team is right now. And this doesn't really bode well for them. I mean, if you're already nervous, you're already anxious, if you're already thinking about all the different changes that need to be made, both in draft, both in roster, both in game itself, and currently looking at the state of things and thinking we've got an 0-3 carry, we're not really sitting in the position that we know we can achieve. You're starting to wonder, okay, well, what needs to change? Because you're getting a little bit cooler, a little bit calmer, but it's just not working in that sort of fashion. I mean, you're talking about what Kisei said before in this interview. We want to be cool, calm, we want to be all this. But if you've got all these circumstances around you, I mean, it's just adding it into a point where you're just like, I'm tilted.
And it doesn't even help that the fight that they just had, they landed the Solar Flare perfectly onto Daystar, right? They had the Yone Ultimate come through. They're still not able to kill him. That raises real problems as to who you're actually going on, right? Is it going to be Desire, who has an ultimate, who has a cleanse as well? Very hard to pin down. Meanwhile, the Azir, all that mobility plus an Emperor's Divide, it just becomes so difficult for the Chiefs. Gonna have to play around these solo lanes once again, right? We saw Yone setting up in the side lane before, Kisei pressuring those turrets. I'd love to see them return back to something of the similar vein, have the Sejuani hover him and really play defensively with that static shift Varus who can just clear the mid waves. Because right now, if you're opting into 5v5s time and time again, just running into the side of Bliss, you are gonna lose.
Crucial few seconds here for the team to really consider the game state. And I think more than anything, it's the fact that there has never been a clean 3-0, clean sweep by either of these teams into one another. It's always been 3-1, always been 3-2. They have been at each other's throat ever since the start of this year. The fact that it could potentially go 3-0 in favor of Bliss would be monumental. The bragging rights from that, I wouldn't look forward to Twitter afterwards.
No, I would definitely not want to be on Twitter, but one thing that the Chiefs can look forward to is this dragon. This could be their potential third elemental dragon and an Ocean Soul on the line nonetheless. They do have this set up, and crucially, they've got the flash on Renekton, they've got the flash on Yone. These are their two big playmaking flashes, and Bliss aren't even going to be able to get here in time.
Not to be the case, they're going to do the trade once again. You go for the Drake, we'll summon the Herald, we'll just take another turret. We've got two, soon to be three. And you've got nothing in return. Solar Flare goes out, Lee misses the target, but he just gets out of range. Charm connects, Fate sealed on his head, but the lights go out. That means Kisei has to break that Soul Unbound short. And the protection this Paranoia is affording them is bailing them out of so many situations.
It's the Paranoia and the Equalizer. That Rumble ultimate means that no one on the Chiefs can actually walk up to continue pressuring onto the bot lane of Bliss. And yes, they use Lemus's flash, but they get a turret in mid lane very low, and they get the complete turret top lane. So a gold for objective trade, and right now, Aladoric down by Liv.
He's just been taken down. There's nothing his team can do to protect him there. Question now is, do more members die in the process of trying to protect him? Daystar swings on through, tried by Momentum, and takes out the bot lane. 2 kills for Liv. He's 5-1 max. He's just too strong. Liv really putting in a serious argument to be the MVP of this series.
But Bliss just are one unit. They move around the map together. You can see the instant Aladoric's caught, the play's not over, right? Daystar comes down from just having killed that top lane turret and finds the shuffle onto Raze. And right now, the Chiefs just feel so lost. They feel so desperate. Any play they have, Bliss have an answer for. There hasn't been a 3-0 skimmy, but I have to say this one is getting very close.
It's feeling like it's written in the stars right now. The script is certainly against them. You can see Aladoric just going to go and try and clear some vision right in their face.
Like, it's just disrespectful from Aladoric, plain and simple, right? Like, you know that the members of Bliss are there. You know the Rumble is going to be able to face check you, and that means that Raze is the victim, right? It feels like this bot lane of Chiefs, time and time again, one of them gets caught, the other dies as compensation. And luckily, you know, there's no Baron for Team Bliss to turn to this time, but that same play happens in 30 seconds, 40 seconds. The game blows wide open like it did in Game 2.
Bliss all aligned, firing on all cylinders, and for Chiefs, just some very uncharacteristic mistakes that are really proving to be costly here. You've now got an 0-6 combined bot lane, which usually is one of their strongest points.
Yeah, I mean, Raze and Aladoric has been the reason the Chiefs are the current defending champions, right? The two-time back-to-back champions. But right now, it really feels like Raze is getting outclassed, and mainly due to so much pressure that's being placed on him in all these fights, right? You've got Wino jumping on him, you've got this Rakan and this Azir, notably, who's only got the 1 kill, but is certainly very strong, working his way towards that second item. And not to mention, to get through all of that, you've got a 5-in-1 Rumble dropping an equalizer on your head.
Could be terrified as well because it's 20 minutes now. Baron is up and available. The last game ending in 23 minutes flat, just over a random fight.
I mean, look how dark the map is, right? They've got vision in their own quadrant, but only really one ward that could actually spot any aggressive Baron attempt, right? And they've got to be so careful when you do have an immobile Varus. You put him on a mid-wave that you haven't properly warded for, he gets TP'd on, he gets knocked and ulted on, bang, he's dead. There's not really much you can do about that. So the Chiefs are going to consistently have to bring up Biopanther, bring up Kisei, just to sit with the team, just to bodyguard them so they can get these mid-waves.
Feeling the pressure right now, our Chiefs, but this is what champions are made of. Let's see if they can try and get themselves out of the hole they find themselves in, because they're currently down 4, soon to be 5,000 gold. As for Bliss, the momentum is so much in their favor. They're feeling so confident, so aligned, so easily connected in what their next play would be. And I feel like they don't need to start up a Baron. I don't feel like they need to force any fight because they know just how pressured Chiefs are.
They know Chiefs are absolutely pressured, right? It's going to come down to this next Dragon Dance in a minute and a half. Yes, Chiefs have 3 to their name, but if you look at item strength right now, it's overwhelmingly in the favor of Team Bliss, right? You do have that Zhonya's Hourglass now completed. For Daystar, if he gets jumped on, he's feeling very comfortable with both the Emperor's Divide and that available, but, you know, they don't have to start it, but why not? They're Bliss, they're incredibly far ahead, and they could potentially use this as an opportunity to turn. Not going to take that risk, however.
I think that paints the picture completely for me. The fact that Biopanther is the most fed member on the side of Chiefs right now.
Yeah.
When do you see a Renekton this fed? I mean, it's near impossible to feel inspired at this point of the game. You need a number of miracles, I think, is really what you're hoping for. Shutdowns, objective bounties, gold in all the right places. Maybe Bliss getting a little bit too overconfident.
And ideally, if you're the Chiefs here, you opt for a sort of Baron Dragon dance, right? You say, okay, well, Bliss is going to go to this Dragon. We're very happy just doing the Baron, but one, they don't even have the damage to do it right now. The Nash's Tooth had just come through for Raze. He's not very strong whatsoever. As Daystar could potentially be in the eyes. If he goes down, Skimmy, Dragon's in 30 seconds. But the turret's going to be enough to deter them. The Zhonya's Hourglass is going to be enough to deter them. And 20 seconds left on this Dragon. The time is ticking for the Chiefs.
That it certainly is. Slowly running out of options here in this game. How much do they throw to commit to try and pick up this Ocean Soul? A monumental point for them. No doubt about that. But if you lose multiple members in the process, Team Bliss are certainly strong enough to try and end the game based off that. Biopanther going to go and be fairly aggressive to try and plant some deep vision. Instantly gets turned back there by Daystar.
That's a huge vision plan. Arkia.
In we go then. Arkia goes gold and gets shut down there. But the equalizer is massive. They're still blind. They don't know what to look at. But those 2 big ultimates have been burnt by Bliss. And to not much success. Is this the best chance Chiefs have got?
Look at Daystar. He's very far away, almost on the mid-wave here. Keep in mind, Raze was forced to use Flash. They doesn't have that available.
Biopanther across the wall, isolating out Daystar. The Solar Flare goes out. The Empress Divide shoves him away. In goes Kisei, looking to try and snipe somebody. But his soul's been claimed. He's not snapping back. Daystar's dead. He's been stunned. He's been shut down. And Raze is still living. And if he's alive, they still have damage. The Dragon forget about it. Bio taken down by Wynot, who's still looking to try and soak up a treat. The bot lane of Bliss are blinking low, but look at Liv. He's cooked them on the barbecue. He's literally winning the game on his own. And Bliss, like that, will get the ace.
This is the top laners' playground this game. Both top laners executed that fight to perfection, but ultimately, it's Liv who gets the better, flashing forward into the Zhonyas. And it is a fight that Bliss need. They knew that the Chiefs were never going to get this soul. They knew it was only a matter of time. But here we go again. This is the initial engage, Skimmy. So the Paranoia and the Equalizer are used. That forces the Varus flash. This is key, right? His positioning has to be so careful now. And I want to point out Biopanther because he is what makes this fight close for the Chiefs, right? By pressuring Daystar, who's the main threat you're worried about getting on top of your carries, he denies him entry into the fight. He makes this a clean 4v4. But look at Liv, right? So much damage to this backline. He's completely untouched. Once he finally gets into the carries, he just melts them.
That he certainly does. In the animation of that flamethrower, turns golden. And says, you can't touch me. Buys time, disengages away. We're back into it! And we're back into another ultimate. Solar Flare again, missing. Empress Divide, shoving Kisei away. And as he snaps back, he falls on down. 1 kill found. But Raze is answered back. Can he find much more than that? I just don't think so. The item discrepancy, it's just too much. As Lemus gets a triple, and Baron's on the cards.
We truly live in a region where analysis is overrated. We come straight out of the replay back into another potentially game-winning fight for the side of Bliss, finding 4 members and the Baron to boot. Once again, Skimmy, it's this combination of the Rumble ultimate with that Nocturne that just makes it so hard to fight in any corridor. And the Chiefs can do nothing but watch as the gold lead balloons out to 9,000. As here we go again, it's an initial skirmish. The Chiefs just need to get vision right. They need to find something onto this Baron. That's what baits them into this corridor. Raze can't walk here. He's going to be walking over red carpet and basically one-shot himself, just trying to get involved in the fight. And look at Liv. He just toasts everyone in the second Daystar commands his soldiers to get to work. They absolutely do that and tear through the Chiefs.
And this is the reason why this has been banned away from Liv. Clearly, this Rumble a little bit too strong. And maybe now the new champion to look out for on 13-13. 2 teams now finding infinite success with it. And a real menace here. 25 minutes in though, Max.
I mean, they have to go for something like this, right? He doesn't have a stopwatch, doesn't have a flash. This could be their only angle.
The lights go out, the cannon gank is active, in comes, why not, the equalizer goes down, and they're still looking to try and press them forward, the solar flare on his head. It's Aladoric against the world, the TP in, is that a mistake?
Raise.
Out goes Arkia, he trumps them up to his own command, the Fate still looking to try and snap back Lemus, but he jumps to the sky, rips back the feathers, laughs at your attempt to take him down. 9-1 is this Rumble, and Daystar wasn't even there.
Plain and simple, the Chiefs are just broken. They make any play. Bliss responded to 2v3, we don't care, we'll take it anyway. And plain and simple, Skimmy, they don't have the damage. You look at this Yone, only a Gale Force completed. Similarly, this Varus, who may have just been caught out.
Oh!
Here goes Daystar.
Daystar Shroomer shuffles in, and he doesn't find everybody, but he found one, and that's enough. Biopan going to try and do whatever he can right now. Look to try and take down somebody, and he will find that. He'll take down 2. Arkia going golden. He'll dash away to the safety of the teammates. And inside the base, they try to claim the inhibitor. They are pushing them back. The Zenith Blade in as Bio falls on down. Aladoric jumps in, but as he's dead, Raze is gone. It's just not working the way they want it to. And now with the base exposed, Team Bliss are just one step closer to getting the 3-0.
They got it within their sights, Skimmy. The PCS, the return to the stage where they didn't find success the first time. Every single fight, it takes a miracle for Chiefs to even get some kills back in their favor. Yes, a lot of gold goes over, but it's to the Renekton, not the character who's going to carry this game. As we can see how it starts once again. It starts with a one-man Shroomer shuffle, not your ideal target whatsoever, and Daystar gets blown up out of the Zhonya's. It's really Biopanther, who's the only member who's actually provides somewhat of a threat on the Chiefs. But the second Lemus is here, he does so much DPS that he even rips through the tanky Renekton, right? You run into a Xayah with that many feathers, you are going to get taken down, and that's exactly what Lemus does.
See Raze step up for a second, he literally steps up, and that's it. I mean, the damage is just unbelievable at this point, and I mean, almost feels like Team Bliss are playing with their food.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely it does. 23 kills to 8. Dragon in their back pocket, yes, a soul spawning, but I think even if the Chiefs get that by some miracle, you're not too worried whatsoever. Really does become a question of how can they close this game out the cleanest, right? You do have a lot of engaged tools, but I'd imagine you can even do something like popping the ultimate of a Nocturne, popping the equalizer, just forcing them back from a turret, getting those multiple inhibitors down, really piling the pressure on. Because if you're Bliss, you're not on a timer whatsoever, right? You have as long as you need to end this game out. The Chiefs realistically aren't going to get too much stronger. And this man on your screen has been the reason why Bliss have looked so good in this game. Fight after fight, the equalizers have been game-changing. The damage nonetheless, and flashes up across the board here. A dire situation for the Chiefs.
11,000 gold, the difference. Chiefs never found themselves in a situation like this, disheveled, tilted. Unfortunately, not in a position of comfort whatsoever. I don't think they've found themselves in a position like this in such a long time. It's just confusion.
Okay, we could look at Daystar here. The Zhonya's and Flash both available though. But that's one of the plays, like, why don't you go for it, right? Like, it is such a dire situation. If you can get that kill, it's a bit of gold back onto Yone. Yes, he may flash. Yes, he may use the Zhonya's, but the Chiefs have to try something, right? This game isn't going to get any easier.
At this point, you need anything. You need multiple small wins to try and claw yourself back into this one. So many bounties to be claimed if they can just find them, but it's just been so hard to lock those members down, right? Xayah, nigh impossible. Daystar, he's just taunting them. I know you're there, but you're not going to touch me.
It is an odd scenario, right, where you look at the KDAs on Bliss and Daystars is the worst. That's very worrying in a lot of situations, but not the case when you have a 7-0 Xayah and you have a 9-2 Rumble. as Bliss, you can see, moving methodically through this jungle. Look at how many zombie wards are available. Daystar.
Needs to focus again, but the protection of this Nocturne ultimate once more, right? It doesn't always have to be committed upon. It's just there as a backup, as an insurance policy. And Daystar does flash away out of that Solar Flare, but he was never under any threat.
He was never under any threat. It's almost like a macro one has anytime someone appears on Daystar's screen, that Nocturne ult will be popped as this top lane tier 2 will become the target for Team Bliss. There's a one final desperate engage, maybe on the cards for the Chiefs.
Yeah, Livs is going to TP into this one. This is that do or die situation. This is the icing on the cake for Bliss, and this is the fight of your life for the side of Chiefs. The Emperor's Divide pushing them back as Limus finds another kill. Still flash forward, and 80 carry taking up the turret right now here, Max. Kisei jumps in, but he's going to come right back and realize that he's surrounded by so many people that he can't find even one. It's an absolute demolition, it's decimation.
The Chiefs make their engage, but it's all for naught. Bliss are just too far ahead at this stage in the game. You can see Limus flashing forward, Lived flashing forward. Everyone wants to get aggressive. Everyone wants to end this game, secure their ticket to the PCS, and the TP's coming in, Skimmy. 15 seconds on Raze, 30 seconds on Kisei. Bliss could look for the end.
That's what they're looking for. They've got a minion wave to try and push this one in, and they can certainly look to try and wait for all three lanes to collapse at once. They're not taking any risk whatsoever. They almost want their opposition to brew in it. Look at the scoreline. You're down what is soon to be 3-0, and how does that feel as we push you into that lower bracket?
And this is good coaching here. This is a team that knows that, yes, there is a chance that they could end the game there. Yes, it could be a bit risky. They say, no, okay, we've gotten the two inhibs, the Baron spawning. We get this, we simply march down the base and end, and Kevy is going to have to pull off a miracle if he were to steal this. If he dies, it's almost certainly the game, but if he gives it, it's almost certainly the same. That's the Baron.
Baron's
goes,
gone.
why not?
One having smited the Baron, goes in for the fight. This is the one to try and end it. The equalizer, perfect! And you're just not getting away! The Emperor's Divide makes sure that you stay on those fiery coals, and you ponder where it all went wrong. Everybody dead but the Renekton, but he is running the wrong way. And across the wall, Limus will try and be cute with it, try and get himself kill number 10, but that's to be denied. And I tell you what here, Max, I mean, it's just never been done before. Always a close series between these two rivals, but Bliss want to end it now.
It's always been a close series. The Chiefs had their number the last time they played, but this is a different Bliss. This is a different beast. Here they take down the Nexus turret, they take down Biopanther, and they secure their ticket to the PCS.
Never winning a game over at the PCS, but they'll do it here today. They'll get themselves every single win that they need to say, we are the first seed, we are the first team qualified. Are we now the best team in Oath?
I mean, undoubtedly, after today, to be honest, this Bliss organization have done miracles from their performance in Split 1, falling to the hands of the Chiefs in the Split 1 finals, to now come and have a series like this that didn't even look remotely close, not even in a single game were there moments that you could say the Chiefs looked like they were contesting Bliss. And elation all around for this team who have worked so hard and will finally get their chance to redeem themselves on the international stage.
You see the duality between the different players here in their reaction to the victory. You can see obviously why not another dance, another happy moment for him, for Limas. Yep, just another day in the office up, another win. 3-0.
I love why not jumping up so quick, like lickety split. He was just up there doing his dance, and Limas was like, yeah, mate. Guess we're going to PCS again.
Yep.
But a big congrats to them. They take it 3-0. Look, people had faith in Bliss. There were a lot of supporters for them. I mean, I saw that Dare fan vote for game number 3. It was massively 83% in the swing of Team Bliss. But I don't know how many people could have predicted a very clean sweep 3-0 for Bliss. Let's break down this game number 3. Let's have a little bit of a chat because Chiefs subbing in Kevy there. We see him pick up the stage as well. He was doing pretty well. He, wasn't breaking open the game per se for Chiefs, but he was keeping them in there. A lot more activity for the side of Chiefs in this game number 3 than what we had seen so far.
Yeah, so the draft from the Chiefs here is very skirmish focused, right? You've got so many good lanes to play towards. You've got melee characters with a Sejuani everywhere. So while it's not a carry from Kevy, it's a very active, dynamic role in the team and how you should be able to get around to lanes and get things done. It started off still quite well for Bliss, but there was a couple of skirmishes that went quite nicely for the Chiefs to equalize the game. And then it feels like this was the big moment that decided where the lead was really going to sit. And Biopanther, I still think, was playing really solidly through this game. but the combo from Bliss was just better. It was no longer skirmishing, it was team fighting, and that's where the Bliss comp really came into its own, right? You can't go onto the Xayah. She's just going to ult. The Azir pushes them all back, and they just got to play perfectly, Max.
I mean, it's literally impossible for Varus to play this game, right? Into an Equalizer, into a Paranoia. Every single fight you saw, he was either having to flash instantly or was going down. And I think that for the Chiefs, they just completely forgot how they win games, right? Their bot lane, which was the key to their success in Split 1, didn't get anything done this series, and it really came down to BioPanther to try to save them. But ultimately, one Croc isn't going to do enough against 5 members this Fed.
Look, this fight, the one that we're seeing it play out right now around the Drake, I was trying to explain it, but it felt like the top laners for these two teams were the real like make or breaks for the lineups. I'm not saying that the reason why the teams weren't able to get a further lead or why the team might have fallen short in it, but the way that they were able to split the fights for themselves was really phenomenal. So I loved seeing just how much BioPanther and Lived could do for both of their teams respectively.
It was a top gap without being a top gap.
It's like, not a top gap against each other.
The other team.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like if BioPanther
It's just a raised montage.
Oh, he's got a lot of emotions in these team fights. He was certainly an experience to watch for us backstage. And I don't think he was expecting the 3-0, and you can see how that starts to get to them, right? That third game. It feels bad. You're 1-6, you're playing this AP Varus, but you're so pressured. It's really frustrating every single time these fights don't go your way. And again, try as Chiefs might to hold on to this one. It felt like they really lost control of the direction super early, and it was Bliss's game to lose, and they don't like losing games where they've got a lead.
I do feel bad for Raze. He did get to a point that he could dish out damage, but he couldn't dish out damage because he wasn't actually live long enough. So the downward spiral of poor Raze here in game number 3.
That feels bad.
Honestly, you
reality.
could stitch all those clips together, and you've got a montage of a man
I feel
going
so
mad.
bad. He was like neutral, and then he was happy. The game was actually kind of going well. We saw a little bit of a cheery laugh from him, and it's just despair mode
It's
kicks
literally
in.
the stages of grief. It really is.
And then we got Why Not doing his celebratory dance in slow-mo.
Ah, dear.
Well, let's break it down. Let's look at these post-game stats here. Obviously, like I said, Raze was able to dish out some damage for the moments that he was alive, as brief as they were. Obviously, Rumble getting out almost 44k damage is insane. Obviously, seeing reflected in the stats as well, just the impact in these team fights that Azir and Xayah were able to do too. But this Nocturne, I want to talk about him. We don't see him picked up too much in OS, and definitely not so far in 13.13. So yet another interesting draft and champion that Bliss are picking up for themselves.
Well, it's interesting in the sense that it was very facilitative for the rest of their comp, right? It did exactly what it needed to in providing both protection, but also those engage opportunities that made it incredibly hard for the carries of Chiefs to play the game. I think as well, the Bliss managed to navigate the really difficult window of that early game quite well, right? There were never any skirmishes topside where the Chiefs comp could really shine. And the second you get past that, you get to that team fighting stage, you can sort of disregard all those sort of disadvantages that you have. So a very nice and intelligent Nocturne pick, and once again, another seemingly out of left field pick from Bliss.
There is such a serious conversation from Max here, and it was all great points, but I'm just looking at Skimmy with his beanie on vibe, and I'm like, we just sent a team to the PCS, and Skimmy's just over here like, let's go, man.
Yeah.
I'm just
happy to
vibing.
be
I'm
here.
living my best life. Don't.
Well, look, we'll see how the vibes are feeling for Lemus after qualifying. We're going to get him on the line here. Lemus, yo, congratulations, man. First team going to PCS and a 3-0 against Chiefs. Like, what is going on?
Thanks. Yeah, not gonna lie, like we didn't expect to 3-0 the Chiefs. We thought it was gonna be a much closer series, but after playing game 1 and just getting into like the feel of the game, we slowly started to realize that like we pretty much gapped these guys in every area of the game. So we really gathered the confidence and just closed it out quickly.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that throughout all of the games here. I do want to talk about the draft a little bit more as much as you're willing to, because we see something very creative coming out from you guys in game 1, and that's the one I want to focus on. I want to know more about these picks coming out, if it was certain reactionary things or you had very clear champs in mind that you wanted to pick up before you even really saw what Chiefs were going to pick for themselves.
Yeah, 100%. I think, I mean, I've said this time and time again, we put a lot of thought into draft, like so much thought into draft. Every person on our team thinks about draft a lot, and then like when we come together as well, we sort of like iron it out and try and like mesh everyone's opinion of draft together. When it comes to the game 1 draft, I think it was like Nila or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been prepping Nila already. Like I prep a lot of picks behind the scenes, but Nila is just one that I got to pull out here. I think it's a very good champion. But the thing about the champion that I don't like that much is that like after 2 items you're kind of just useless. But yeah, I think it was still a fine pick there.
Well, you guys made it work, man. The Nila finally was actually pulled out in the LCO and you got that dub. I also want to talk about not just the time that you spend in your draft, but the synergy that it seems like you have with Arkia as well, because that is clearly just improving over time. And I don't know if you agree with this, but through this series, it felt like you got a hard read on Raze and Elidoric, and it started to become just a simple lane for you guys down there. You know, what is the defining moment, do you think, in this series for you two? Was it game 1 where you getting some kills and you're like, this is actually just free?
No, I'd say that was more. I think in game 1, bot lane actually didn't go that well. I think it went okay, but I went down like a heaps of CS, so. I don't think we like beat them in lane that game, no way. But I think like the game after that, we stuck like just in the way that like they were posturing in lane and stuff. Like we can sort of sense that they're playing like scared or they're playing fearful, and like they're not really taking like they were just playing different. And like as a player, you can just like sort of sense that apprehension from the enemy, and then once you feel that, then like you know that you're in their heads and it's GG. Can
I quickly ask as well about that second game? Because it was a clear feeling that the Chiefs weren't playing like we were expecting them to here. Like you said, you can sense that feeling. Was it a map-wide thing, or was it just in bottom lane you had this suspicion that the Ivan was going to come down there all the time, and so you brought Why Not down to you?
Both. I mean, I don't want to reveal exactly like what I was thinking during the game, but just for like from the early map movements, their gameplay is very telegraphed, so I can like tell what they're going for straight away from like level 1 and how they move like warded and stuff like that. And then so after that, it just becomes a game of telling telling my jungler what's going to happen. And also I think like Why Not in this series, he played very well. He was calling a lot in game. He was playing like very structured and very methodical, and that like just made it very easy for us to work as a unit.
And simple question for you, Lemus. Is this the peak that Bliss has, or do you think this was Chiefs not at 100%?
I definitely think Chiefs, I don't like, if you look at the game from an outside perspective, I think they didn't play that well, and I think their draft is very lacking. But I think when you play versus us, like we're gonna apply pressure onto you and force like a lot of mistakes. So I think like you play as well as your opponent essentially. So I think we didn't give Chiefs like much opportunity in the game, and that's why it looks like they played badly. But I think that's just because we played well.
And look, you guys getting obviously the qualification to PCS, going to grand finals as well. You got 10 days between now and that grand final. What are you guys gonna do? You're gonna buckle down, go even harder over the 10 days, pace yourselves, prep for PCS. A lot of things on the to-do list, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, well, of course we have the grand final next week, but I mean, qualifying for PCS kind of feels like we're already like almost at the finish line, kinda. Because like this is like the major objective, right? Like it doesn't really matter that much if you go in as first or second seed. So I'm happy to get the win here. At the same time, I understand that like there's a massive road ahead of us for PCS, so I think I might take like a day or something to like chill and relax, but then afterwards straight back to work.
Sounds good. Lemus, we'll let you go. We'll let you enjoy the rest of this night and obviously a couple days as well. But look, congratulations at 3-0 and that PCS slot. Thanks, guys. See ya. See ya. You only got 1 or 2 days off when you're a pro player here, when you got the grand finals, when you got PCS ahead of you, and some really nice, honest answers from Lemus, as much as he was willing to give us about both draft and also the Chiefs that they felt that they versed today.
Yeah, I mean, when you're on as a pro player, right? And I do appreciate some of the honesty, some things he didn't want to reveal, even like what he was thinking during games that are done. But look they cards close to his chest.
They might be coming up against Chiefs again in the grand final. So I fully respect that. Chiefs aren't out just yet. They do still have, obviously, their chance as well to go to PCS. But a MVP for this series needs to be picked. Bliss, you got 5 players there, 5 outstanding players, in fact. I want Lived. I'm going to say it personally, please. I really want Lived. I think he's amazing. Do you think there's going to be any other bias towards another player here?
I don't think there's any debate. I think he hard carried game 1 and hard carried game 3.
Okay, all right. Do you
was
want to?
pretty good.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I feel like you want to try and.
It could be a bot laner, but I do think Lived was the star of the show for this series. Yeah.
Well, let's see if it's going to be Lived getting MVP for himself. It is 100%. He gets 18 for 28 on his KDA, 65% kill participation. And even though all those stats look amazing, it really doesn't reinforce just how phenomenal he was in this map presence, in the way that he was able to position himself in every fight and every engagement that Bliss came out on top for.
It's just so weird saying, you know, top diff when it's top diff in the way of, okay, I'm gonna ignore my top laner and just kill everybody else on the map. Yeah, Liv just obviously played phenomenally well.
It was so hard to explain this. I'm like, it was a top diff, but not against each other, a top diff within the teams themselves. And then this sort of, yeah, look, it's hard to explain, but top dip, but also...
It was a tough dip.
Tough
it was
dip.
a tough dip.
Tough dip.
The fair Dan vote.
He played well.
A big congrats to Liv there and Team Bliss as well. Let's see what our play of the day is going to be, though. Max, do you want to go? Do you want to do play-by-play again, or do you want to give it to Rusty?
No, I cannot play.
Oh, it's going to be Rusty.
Not can do it.
It's Rusty's turn.
No, it's not, but I think I chose it. I think I
Did
chose
you
what it was.
choose it?
I believe
which
that's
one's it?
correct. Yeah, so
Oh,
this is the game 1 fight where Lived and Arkia team up to just like rinse them, right? It was like, I think it was like 1,800 damage dealt in this fight by Liv, like instantly.
Yeah. The Arkia engaged, that was insane.
Yeah, that's just the ideal like fight for Gwen, because everyone's in the true damage of her Q, everyone's taking her entire ultimate. That is just, and like look where he started as well. It's behind a wall. He makes it that entire distance to get that charm off. It's just oh.
Snip, snip.
Yeah, we're so used to Chiefs being the team that are looking for those extra angles, looking for those flanks, but this time around, Team Bliss, my goodness, Lived did it to a whole nother degree, a whole another level there, and very deserving play of the day. So he gets MVP, and he's also our star of the play of the day too. Really, let's be honest here.
You get those on the big jobs, mate.
You certainly do, mate.
We'll have a
He was
look
the
at
biggest job of them all.
Well, the biggest job is actually the bracket. I mean, this playoffs bracket has been massive. We've already seen 2 teams fall down, 3 actually. PGG, Direwolves, Vertex all knocked out there in the lower bracket. Team Bliss, Chiefs, they faced off here in our upper bracket finals, our best of 5 that only went to 3 games. It saw Team Bliss now in the grand finals, taking that first slot to PCS, and we'll see a Chiefs Mammoth rematch.
And does anyone remember what Sully said when we asked which one he'd prefer?
He said
Tien. I think Tien prayed.
He was like, please give us Bliss.
And this is most certainly
exactly
not
my
Bliss.
point. He's like, oh, why did it have to be the Chiefs, not them again? They smashed us during the regular split. They smashed us in the upper bracket 2-0. Oh, what can we do to try and really change this one around? Because you know Chiefs are coming in tomorrow.
Yeah.
Absolutely pissed.
You have to break
they have
a curse.
vengeance.
Yeah, I mean, you have to literally break a curse right now if you're Mammoth and you want to win this series with how it's been going against the Chiefs.
You're hoping, if you're Mammoth, that Chiefs are with a vengeance. They're going to be anger gaming, but in the worst way possible, right? You're going to be like, I hope that they're just
Tilted
so angry that they want a win that they'll do anything, and they're the mistakes that we can capitalize on. But obviously, if you're Chiefs, you're coming in and you're like, we've beaten these guys time and time again. We can easily do it again.
Maybe the Chiefs need to tap into some like lived energy and go on their own like demon anime arc. They got the contact lenses in. They're just they're starting to speak Japanese and comms.
Demon anime arc between days.
Just a demon on the computer there. And just get it done.
Works.
Look, it's going to be another best of 5 that is tomorrow night. Our day isn't over just yet, though. We do still have our very fun segment of Menu Log Mealtime just on the other side of this break.
For anything, see I'm ready for anything. All praise to the most hated, never flinch, never back down. Always been the most gracious, always stood, never sat down. Whole city got my back now, shadows in the background. It's for more than a back now, I want it all as a fact now.
Just because the league action is over doesn't mean we can't have our fun here. It's Menulog Mealtime, and you can win a $40 voucher for Menulog by spamming Menupog in chat. Get them in chat. Get your chance and your entry in there for this segment. I actually said, Mordred, hey, what do you want Skimmy to do? This is your time to get back at him. And
I feel like I'm doing a challenge right now where it's I can fit as many layers on as possible. Because I've put this on top of this, on top of this, on top of this, on top of that. It's getting a little bit warm.
Stays like hot, by the way.
It's getting a little bit warm.
How much sweat do you think is...
Well, I'll tell you what, don't need to get in the treadmill today, that's for sure. I'm sweating it all off naturally, bloody hell.
Sauna.
No, I was only joking. There's no punishment for you there, Skim, although you do look like you're in a little bit
Unless
of
you
pain.
want another dare, mate.
Yeah.
Honestly, this could be Balenciaga at this point. I got...
Can you give us your best model walk?
You're a
Can you go
sauna,
from like
Harry.
the center down?
Oh. He's going to rip his headset cable out.
What would a model walk look like? I swear they have so much sass in
Yeah,
how,
got a
like,
strut.
I reckon you can do
Got a
it.
strut.
like the strut. It's always just like...
Push them hips out, foot in front of the other foot.
Like all that, like...
That
all
is
that.
Zoolander. Can you give us blue steel?
That is
Don't-
Blue steel
Give
to
us the
camera?
blue steel.
Oh, but we don't have a zoomed up camera anymore, do we?
We don't. You
Okay.
can try your best.
Oh.
Oh, that was good.
Damn.
The beanie adds to it, I think.
On the spot.
Would you guys like to... Sorry, I was...
What was that?
What was that?
I don't know what I'm doing. What was that?
Would you guys like
I'm
to do
done.
a little friendship test while we're here?
Sure,
Our second
absolutely.
last day of playoffs week.
Do you have our whiteboards?
I have my whiteboard.
I've
No,
got
that's a
a
joke. No,
whiteboard.
I do have my whiteboard.
I've
Wait.
got my... Oh, yours is there.
Ah?
Yeah?
Okay.
And your pen
Oh.
there. Yeah, nice.
Just a lot of R's. I almost dropped the pen.
That song's like,
And ooh,
That's like Rusty when he's doing a play-by-play vibe. Oh, ha, ha, oh,
and the question
I hate how true that is. I hate how true that is.
She missed a read.
Great friendship test, guys. You've all failed.
We've all just bullied him. Rusty, no, you get to pick.
What?
How would you like to do it? Couch be couch? Do you want to go...
This couch would never lose.
This couch would never lose.
All right, bet.
Couch be couch.
Also, we're picking the question, so that's not fair.
All right, bet.
We probably shouldn't do that.
It's up to you.
We
You
can
Let's
choose a
do.
question.
Can I go with Max?
You
We
want
choose
to
a
go with
question.
I wanna
You
go
choose
with
a
Max.
question.
Oh, well, let's go with that. They choose a question, then we choose a question.
I want to go
So
with
catch,
Max.
Oh, you want to go
I
with
wanna go with
Max?
Max. We've
We're
never
the
done
guys
this.
who go ooh ah ooh in team fights.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ooh, ah, ooh.
And you guys make fun of
The
us.
monkeys
Oh, okay.
and the play-by-plays.
You don't ever
Yeah,
want to
okay.
hear me do a play-by-play.
I want to go with
I
Max 'cause
want
we've
to you
never
do a
done
play-by-play.
Yeah, all right, let's
You
do
will
it.
get that eventually, Skim, I promise
I'll
you.
deliberately
Maybe
make
tomorrow.
myself sick one day, so you have to cover for me.
I could just do the play of the day one day.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
I'm being,
I
actually,
don't want
that's
you
a
to
pretty
get
good point.
I'm
sick.
being a little bit too dramatic now, aren't
Yeah,
I?
I don't want you to get
Yeah,
sick.
fair enough.
That's how much of a friend I am for you. Would you guys like to pick a question first then?
Do you have a question handy?
Besides dogs and cats, what's your favorite animal?
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
so you can't pick dog or cat.
Okay.
Yep.
Favorite animal.
It's actually
I'm
a
going
good
for
question.
Skimmy.
So I'm right. So
You're writing that.
okay,
And your own, basically.
I write my own, and then I write Nats.
Yeah, yeah.
Are we doing that question as well?
Yeah.
Wait, we're doing that same question?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Everybody.
Okay, you're so behind times.
Well, I thought it was a question for you two, wasn't it?
No, that's fair. Favorite pet, you said?
No.
Just animal.
Favorite animal.
Oh, well, that changes my answer.
Oh,
That changes my answer.
that does change
I
mine
don't
too.
have a... oh, well.
See, I want to say. All right, I'm gonna say this.
Maybe I just commit to this.
Wait, no. Where's the...
Maybe I just commit to this.
I don't have one. Can I borrow that after you? Thank you.
You may.
Oh, I've put too much pen on my board. Ruh-roh.
Happens to 1 in 3 of us.
9 out of 10. Whiteboard enthusiast.
What is
recommend.
yours? What is yours?
What is
What is
Skimmy's?
I've lost my lid. We will find it later.
We are
We
in
will worry
shambles
about that
this
later.
mealtime.
Okay.
Oh, what is Skims? Oh.
I just didn't change my answer for you.
Oh,
I
no.
think I griefed it. Favorite animal?
All right. Do you guys want to go first?
Sure
Oh,
thing.
that's such a good answer, even if it's not true.
Well, that's mine.
Oh, that's such a good answer because it's true. All right, Max and Rusty gonna flip yours to the count
Do you
of
want
three.
it? Do you want it, Max, to go
Yeah,
first?
ready?
Or
No, you
at the
both flip at the same
Okay,
time. Ready? 1, 2, 3. So you wrote lions for yourself, and you wrote horse for Rusty.
I said horse, but like a really sick one.
really they're
Like, you know
called?
those ones that have like the sick manes and like are really like run fast and they're like athletic
Like
and
a
stuff?
stallion looking.
Go Stallion.
That's the
Yeah.
word I was
Like
looking
an old
for.
Stallion.
spice horse.
Stallion.
Yes, like Terry Crews would ride
Yeah,
it on this, just like,
You a hawk?
Like an
You're an
old
otter?
spice.
My favorite is
It
an otter.
oh, that's actually a good
And he
pick.
wrote
And then I
Hawk
said
for you.
hawk for you. I just
I've been told I have a Pidgeot haircut.
Yeah?
that
so
was genuinely. I
yeah,
looked at
No.
him and chose hawk. I'm
You're
not kidding.
mean
I
for
looked
that.
at Max and chose
That's
hawk.
not mean. I
That's
like
not mean.
Pidgeotto.
Hawks, yeah.
Okay. I would have just said bird in general.
Also,
I wouldn't have gone
otter top
yeah,
tier
that's
animal.
S tier.
Good
That is a
animal.
really good answer.
You know those Twitch
Alright.
streams where they just swim
Yes.
around the water?
You
Yeah.
link them to me all the time.
Yes, I do.
Best.
All right, you ready, Skim?
I am.
3, 2, 1.
Oh,
Oh, you're a cheater. No, I was originally going to write lion and then I changed to bear. So I wrote bear for Skimmy.
Yes.
This is cheater. You wrote rabbit for me.
I thought you'd be a gentle soul.
Well, this is the funniest thing.
Gentle soul.
When it was pet, I wrote rabbit.
See, I knew it.
Unironically,
Yeah.
I wrote
And
rabbit.
I literally said when it changed to animals, like, I'm just committing.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just
fair.
committing.
I did put red panda though.
Red
So-
Panda's good.
Animal-wise, it's actually
Okay.
red panda.
Okay.
Red panda is a safe bet for the human race.
Yeah.
For a favorite animal that isn't a dog or cat.
Would you like to do one more? Skim, you can do the question.
Okay.
Production's like, can we actually just end the day?
What? What location is on your bucket list to travel to?
Oh,
What's-
dream destination.
What's your dream destination to travel to on your bucket list?
Dream destination. By the way, while we're writing this, chat, you can write something yourself. You can write menu pog, put it in chat, and win yourself $40 voucher for Menulog. Dream destination.
Dream
So
destination.
is it like we
Aw.
haven't been there, or we had to have gone there?
I would say dream
'Cause bucket
destination
list-
to holiday that you haven't been
I'm-
to.
I'm
Because
thinking-
you said bucket list, I assumed then we haven't been to.
I'm thinking, yeah, it's like somebody you haven't been to, but you've been really wanting to go to because
Oh.
you've seen things or you've
Yeah.
heard things or
See,
whatever
I
it may be.
think we're actually on the same page here.
You reckon?
I think we're on the same page here. That's
All
what I
right,
think.
very quickly. I got mine for you, Skim.
Okay. I think.
I don't know where Max has been.
All right, you ready?
That's the issue.
I
think he's been there.
You reckon? Can I put a second option then?
Oh, sure. I don't
No,
mind.
but that's a good guess.
All right, you ready, Skim?
I'm
We'll do
ready.
ours first.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Yeah, Skimmy, I got Korea. He put Korea for himself. I put Portugal for myself. You put Hawaii. Hawaii would have been
Yes.
up there, but I have been to Hawaii.
Oh,
so.
damn.
Yeah, this is a tough one.
Yeah,
You don't know where
yeah.
they've
Damn.
been.
You don't
Because
know
I
where
know you've done a lot of traveling, so I was trying to think, like, where has she
Oh.
not been? And I know you spent a lot of time in Europe,
Yep.
I'm
so I
going
was
to
like
erase this
very
one,
concerned about that.
but I want you to know what I wrote before I get rid of it, just
All
in
right,
case.
sounds good.
Just
But
in
we got
case.
it. Skim, I knew your
Nice.
dream.
Nice.
So we got that one on the list.
Ready, Rostov?
Max,
Yeah.
Rusty, 3, 2, 1, reveal it.
Oh,
both
yours
put
was
Japan!
Japan. I
I
almost
double
did that.
Japanned it.
I genuinely
I hit the double Japan.
almost did that, and then I was like,
Yeah.
"There's no way we did double Japan,
You've been
right?"
to France, haven't you, Max?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you haven't?
I'd love to go to France, though. I really would love to go
He's
to
learning
France.
French.
Yeah.
He is.
But
That's
Japan
like-
and France, like Japan's like more, like if I had to pick one right now, it would be Japan.
Okay.
All right, that's fair. That's very
We
fair.
got a 50-50, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
Look, we all know each other as well or as little as each other. So that's nice to know. We're all on the same page with our friendships. But that's going to be the end of show. We've closed it out. Hopefully one of you guys got your $40 voucher. And hopefully you also really enjoyed the League of Legends action that we saw today. We will be back tomorrow, same time, with another best of 5, but this time an elimination one. Bye.